What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 14 LF Chapter 171 Luxurious Daily Life. After Reiju settled the girls, they came to the palace. As soon as I entered the lobby, I saw a luxurious scene. Xia Luo, come and try this. This is the delicacy I just prepared. Hancock scooped up a spoonful of broth and handed it to Xia Luo's mouth, but this amount would not be enough to feed Xia Luo even for a day. Since coming to Longyu Island, Hancock has never wanted to be separated from Xia Luo for a moment. He has been stuck by Xia Luo's side all the time, wishing he could become a conjoined baby with the baby attached to Xia Luo's body. Anada, come and try the cake I just baked too. Baby 5 also put a piece of small cake on it and handed it to Xia Luo's mouth and said softly. The state of Baby 5 is very similar to Hancock. She is also the type who never wants to leave Xia Luo for a moment and sticks to him all the time. The two of them occupied Xia Luo's arms on one side and looked at him expectantly, wanting him to comment on their delicious food. Quite a jealous look. Okay, come one by one. Xia Luo drank Hancock's broth in one gulp, and then finished Baby 5's in one gulp. After eating the cake, I was still not satisfied and blinked my mouth. It didn't taste like much, that's all. Look, Xia Luo drank my soup first before eating your cake, which means that my broth is the most suitable food for Mr. Xia Luo. Seeing this, Hancock showed a satisfied smile, and then looked at the baby provocatively. 5. Humph. What do you know? Delicious things are usually saved for last. My cake is obviously more delicious, and Etienne stayed to taste it last. Baby 5 replied unceremoniously that she was not afraid of the title of the Pirate Empress, and she was not afraid of anything on the road of love. What did you say? Do you want to fight? Hancock said angrily with a pound sign on his forehead. Who is afraid of whom? Baby 5 rolled up his sleeves, one hand turned into a pistol, and he looked like he wanted to fight. Okay, stop arguing, it's all delicious, I can eat whatever you make. Xia Luo lay comfortably on the sofa, not paying attention to the quarrel between the two women, and comforted them a little. Seeing that it had no effect, he pinched the sensitive areas of the two girls with his two big hands. At this point, the two girls just lay in his arms with no intention of continuing to fight. Both of them blushed and closed their eyes, enjoying the warmth of Xia Luo's body. In response, Reiju helplessly covered his forehead and walked over slowly. Xia Luo really got more and more excited the more he played, especially when two women came to him who were completely obedient to him. This is different from the nature of the two maids of God. As one of the victims of Xia Luo getting more and more playful, she felt that Xia Luo was constantly testing their bottom line, as if they were going to play bigger tricks in the future. But so what, they can't live without Xia Luo and can only go crazy with him. Hey, Reiju, you've worked hard, why don't you sit down and take a rest? Xia Luo patted her thigh, raised her eyebrows at Reiju and said slowly. Reiju was not shy and sat down on Xia Luo's lap. This behavior actually made Hancock jealous. Reiju acted as if she were the royal palace, which made her want to fight. There are some uninvited guests on the island, and you need to deal with them. As soon as Reiju sat down, he slowly told Xia Luo about Kral and others. Oh, enemy? Just let Xiao Yin handle it. Xia Luo said in surprise. Who else would dare to provoke him at this time? Could it be that he came here for the name of his new 4 emperors? What a reckless guy. Not only is this name very resounding, but it can also cause him a lot of trouble, especially those little pirates who can't recognize themselves. Just like bees attracted by flowers, they swarm around. But in the end they will all be eaten by his piranha flower. No, it's not the same as you imagined. Reiju shook his head, and then talked about the beauties that Hog and others attacked him, and the possibility that there might be many other undercover forces among them. And asked Xia Luo what to do with these beautiful girls, whether to keep them or to expel them all. Yu Zhang mentioned the 2 members of the Revolutionary Army and their purpose of coming. Oh, Revolutionary Army? Interesting, come to seek my cooperation? Do you want to ask me to do something? Xia Luo placed the 2 beautiful girls next to her, rubbed her chin with interest, and spoke slowly. The Revolutionary Army really spend a lot of money, and they sent 2 cadre-level beauties directly. Are you really not afraid of him? Is Xia Luo so fond of him that they can't get out of this island? If the talks break down, when their Revolutionary Army comes to rescue people, they may take away 4 people. It's not clear yet. They insist on talking to you in person. Reiju had no answer for Xia Luo's inquiry. Let's go over and take a look. They have successfully aroused my curiosity. Xia Luo stood up holding Reiju's butt. Instructing Hancock and Baby 5 to wait here, he and Reiju left first. After a while, Xia Luo came to the place where Reiju settled the beautiful girls. It's okay if he doesn't look at it, but once he looks at it, he can't suppress his happy smile. Good guy, world government is really willing to spend a lot of money. He could tell the identity of Peacock and others at a glance. He was very impressed by Sadie Chan and Domino. They were from Impel down. Their looks were considered to be at the top among these girls. Peacock is the granddaughter of Marine Vice Admiral. He also has the position of Rear Admiral in Marine, which is considered a high official. The world government has the ability to send her out from under the protection of Crane Vice Admiral to perform undercover missions, which shows how important she is in the eyes of the five elders. First meeting. Hello Mr. Xia Luo, I am Kral from the Revolutionary Army, and this is Bello Betty, the commander of our Eastern Army. Seeing Xia Luo's arrival, Kral's face was filled with a happy smile. He raised his hand to Xia Luo and wanted to shake hands with him, and introduced himself energetically. I'm sorry, Sir Xia Luo, please forgive this child's rudeness. In response to Kral's familiar self-introduction, Bello Betty rubbed her head with a headache and pulled her back. It doesn't matter, I'm more curious about what your Revolutionary Army wants to cooperate with me than this. What kind of reward can you offer to make me agree? Xia Luo didn't pay attention to these small things and looked at the two Revolutionary Army members with interest. Isn't it inconvenient to say what I say here? Bello Betty looked at the many beautiful girls who were watching, as well as the peacock and others. Pictures may not be posted. Xia Luo looked at the many women around her watching the fun, especially the undercover peacock and others from world government. Suddenly I felt like what would be the reaction if this news reached the ears of the world government. As a fun person, he thought it would be interesting, so he immediately said, no need, the women here are all mine from now on, there is no need to be secretive. Xia Luo shook her hand and rejected her proposal. All right. Bello Betty was helpless. Seeing Xia Luo's confident look, she immediately gave up the idea of continuing to persuade. In Xia Luo's territory, she didn't dare to be too disobedient to the other party's wishes. She could only let him say whatever he said. Our Revolutionary Army has secret intelligence and plans about the world government, which also includes things related to what you said in Summit War. Seeing Xia Luo's eyes turn towards her and asking her to continue speaking, she stopped covering up and spoke directly. Oh, it's interesting. Let's talk about it. Xia Luo raised his eyebrows lightly. The explosive things he said in Summit War also attracted the attention of the Revolutionary Army. That's just something about IM. Unexpectedly, the Revolutionary Army also had information about IM's incident. As far as our leader knows, there is actually a real king above the five elders. This is something he only learned by chance when he was in Marine. Bello Betty said in a deep voice. It was originally a very confidential matter, but now it was told in front of so many people, and Bello Betty was still a little uncomfortable. This should be a secret that very few people know. But in order to win Xia Luo's trust, she still said it. She believed that Xia Luo should have the means to deal with these insiders. Seeing that Xia Luo looked at her like this with a calm expression and said nothing, Bello Betty continued to speak. That person is exactly the person you mentioned in Summit War, I am. As soon as she said this, Peacock and the others frowned. They, Marine, had never heard of such a person above the five elders. For a moment, she wondered if the Revolutionary Army, Xia Luo and others had said this deliberately. This message is used to mislead Marine so as to provoke conflict between Marine and the world government. In fact, the identities of himself and others have been exposed. This news was deliberately made known by Xia Luo so that the news could be passed back to Marine. Otherwise, why would such confidential information be released in front of so many people? But what she didn't expect was that their identities were indeed exposed, but the information was true. There are people from the pirates and the Revolutionary Army who know about IM's existence, but no one from the Marine side knows about IM's existence. This is really intriguing. How much do you know about IM? Your Excellency Xia Luo. After hesitating for a while, Bello Betty asked. You may not know as much as you. Xia Luo shrugged and said nonchalantly. In fact, he knows a lot and has some guesses, at least more than the Revolutionary Army knows, but he doesn't want to say it now. Our Revolutionary Army came here with sincerity. How about, Sir Xia Luo, do you want to cooperate with us? We will share more information in the future. Bello Betty looked closely at Xia Luo with an expectant look in her eyes. I see, I understand. You need my power, right? Let's talk about the rewards between us. What kind of price do you have to offer to impress me? After hearing this, Xia Luo nodded and spoke slowly with a comfortable expression. None of these are important to him, only reward is the most important. Just wanting to use some information to drive him to take action is too beautiful. He is the type who will not let the eagle see the rabbit. Do you agree to cooperate with our Revolutionary Army? That's great. Our Revolutionary Army can provide you with a variety of weapons, guns and ammunition, and no matter which sea area it is, as long as you notify us, we can send manpower to support you. After hearing what Xia Luo said, Kral shouted happily and handed over all the trump cards his Revolutionary Army could provide in one breath. Anyway, she had already told Reiju about this before. Reiju had also told Xia Luo about the resources that she and others could provide. Instead of covering up and ruining the relationship between the two parties, it would be better to show off directly. Bello Betty had no complaints about Kral's self-initiated showdown, and she had the same thoughts as Kral. Sir Xia Luo, do you really want to cooperate with these rats in the gutter? We are pirates? At this time, the peacock on the side suddenly stopped him. If he doesn't open his mouth, I'm afraid these two entities that make Marine and even the world government difficult will really unite. While she still has room for maneuver, try to hinder the relationship between the two. Upon hearing this, Bello Betty frowned and had some doubts about the identity of Peacock and others. Was the other party targeting their revolutionary army too much? Xia Luo slowly turned her head and looked at Kong Ku like this. The latter was on pins and needles as if she was being targeted by a beast, but she still played the role of a pirate well, puffing out her chest, posing and showing off her beautiful side to seduce Xia Luo. You are the leader of the New World Training Pirates, right? I heard that all of your pirates are made up of women. Xia Luo smiled and said slowly with half-squinted eyes. He looked like some anti-monster eyes now. Yes, I like the most powerful men like you, Mr. Xia Luo. I have always been looking forward to having a man like you conquer me. Peacock nodded, took advantage of the situation and came directly to Xia Luo, hooked his shoulders with both hands, straddled Xia Luo's leg with one leg, and whispered in his ear seductively. If you can't conquer me, then you have to train you instead. After saying that, she didn't forget to lick his earlobe gently, and she was filled with charm. What a terrible fairy, Xia Luo wished she could be punished right now. Law. Who would believe her if she looked like this? With this kind of temperament, even ordinary pirates don't look like her. Is she really worthy of being a marine? Marines are full of actors, right? I need to know your identity when I come here. You are now one of my female candidates. Don't interfere in a man's affairs easily. This is not what a good woman should do. Do you understand? Xia Luo slapped her sweet buttocks, not forgetting to support her, causing the peacock to snort proudly. Yes, Master Xia Luo, I understand. Peacock shyly winked at him and whispered like a little woman. But she started to curse in her heart. Not only did Xia Luo eat her, he also scolded her. Damn it. However, the plan has changed. Since it can't be stopped now, it will be stopped in the future. Judging from Xia Luo's reaction, he should be very satisfied with her. When they got acquainted with each other, she blew some air in Xia Luo's ear, provoking the relationship between the two. Wouldn't there be more room for manipulation? She chose to lie dormant and wait for the right time to proceed, and the information about Xia Luo and the others must be passed on as soon as possible. She made a major discovery on her first day here. Did she already foresee the complete success of her undercover mission? Chapter 172. The two of you are exactly what I want. Okay, let's get down to business and continue talking about our affairs. Xia Luo patted Peacock's butt to signal the latter to return to her position first, and then continued to speak to Bello Betty and others. The two members of the Revolutionary Army looked at each other. They were not used to this kind of conversation between pirates, and it was a little too wanton. None of the things you said before are important to me. Then Xia Luo said again. Does he lack manpower? With the newly recruited manpower in Golden Lion's old team, Judge's android team, he does not lack manpower at all. Intelligence? This kind of thing. He knows a lot of secrets in the pirate world, maybe even more than the Revolutionary Army. He only doesn't know the information about the Revolutionary Army that has not appeared in the plot. Why does he need to obtain information from the Revolutionary Army? Several CP9s under him are not just for a living, they have been helping him search for information. It's just that these things have always been handled by Khalifa and Reiju. What do you mean, Sir Xia Luo? You might as well say it bluntly, as long as our Revolutionary Army has it, we will provide it. Compared to Kral, who has less experience, Bello Betty has more experience, and he can see that there must be other reasons for wearing it underneath. Simply point it out directly and let Xia Luo choose. As long as they have something in the Revolutionary Army, they will not be stingy. Okay. Feel free. Then I'll tell you the truth. Seeing Bello Betty's bold and cheerful attitude of allowing herself to impose conditions, Xia Luo clapped her hands and said happily. I don't lack people, nor do I lack information, but I am quite interested in two people from your Revolutionary Army. I wonder if you are willing to let them go? If you agree, I can help your Revolutionary Army with your so-called plan in the future, even if it is to attack Marie. 157. Joya. Hearing this, Bello Betty frowned. Xia Luo agreed to cooperate with them and offered to attack Marie Joy with them, which made them very excited. The plan of their Revolutionary Army is also related to Marie Joy. If Xia Luo can take action at this time, the success rate will definitely be increased. J. Who does he need from our Revolutionary Army? She was not sure. On the one hand, their Revolutionary Army would not force their comrades, especially the behavior of leaving the organization and joining another force. Can you first tell me who the two people you need are? We need to go further. You can only find out after asking. After all, you know, our Revolutionary Army will not force our comrades to do things they don't want to do. Bello Betty asked doubtfully. She also said bluntly that she might not be able to agree to the condition of wearing it. I also feel a little shy about my previous bold and permissive attitude of imposing conditions. Obviously he said it before, but now that Xia Luo has put forward the conditions, he hesitates again. Do you really want to know? Xia Luo gave her a meaningful look and said with interest. You say. Bello Betty and Clara felt a little bit in their hearts, but they still said with serious faces. It's none other than you two. As you all know, I, Xia Luo, don't have any hobbies, rights, and money are meaningless to me. I already have my strength, and I only have one small hobby left. I wonder if the two Revolutionary Army members are willing to stay on my island. Xia Luo stretched out her hand to invite the two of them and said with a very sincere expression. Wah. What? Us? Crawl pointed at his nose in surprise and said in shock. She and Bello Betty looked at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. It's over, this time it's really a sheep in a tiger's mouth. Unexpectedly, Xia Luo's target was actually the two of them. This matter. Can you let me and our leader discuss it before making a decision? At this time, Bello Betty said with a complicated expression. Crawl was so panicked that he couldn't speak. He began to dance a little, and finally his face turned red with shame. From time to time, he would raise his head and glance at Xia Luo, still muttering something in his mouth. However, because the words were too vague, even Xia Luo didn't know what she was talking about. It seemed that she was so confused that she couldn't speak. This little girl's panic attitude made Xia Luo feel happy and unhappy. It was so interesting. The peacock had already screamed secretly at this time. Judging from the appearance of the two of them, they were probably not willing to agree to Xia Luo. It was more like a discussion than an escape from here. This was completely unnecessary for Xia Luo to end this cooperation. She had a further understanding of Xia Luo's stupidity. He is really addicted to sex as much as his life. Excuse me, do you want to go back to your headquarters or contact me by phone? Xia Luo raised her hand to signal the two of them to be casual. It's better to go back to the headquarters first. After all, my identity is too sensitive. As a cadre of the Revolutionary Army, I cannot decide some things at will. Bello Betty said with a complicated expression. It's not that she doesn't have the right to decide whether to stay or go at will. This is just rhetoric. It's more that she needs to think about and consider the interests involved. She has the idea of devoting herself to the revolution, but she still needs to calm down. Well, I will wait for your good news. I think you won't disappoint me, right? I am very optimistic about your ally relationship. Xia Luo said to her with a smile. The meaning is self-evident. This Revolutionary Army cadre, you don't want the Revolutionary Army to be at odds with me, right? It looks like a threat, but it is worse than a threat. A powerful, four emperors, pirate is also very troublesome to their Revolutionary Army. Going against Xia Luo is something they absolutely don't want to do. I see. Bello Betty nodded helplessly. Very well, I'll leave this to you. You can let me know if you need to contact me. Xia Luo said with a satisfied look, and then handed her a phone bug. Your Excellency Xia Luo, I hope that next time we meet, I can bring our leader over to meet with you in person and discuss it in detail. I hope you will not refuse. Bello Betty took the phone and handed it to Crawl, and then said with a complicated expression. She was wearing an open coat and no underwear, so naturally she couldn't use a woman's other space. It can only be left to Crawl for safekeeping first. No problem, just contact me when you are ready. Xia Luo graciously accepted Bello Betty's request. He also wanted to meet Monkey D. Dragon, one of the most mysterious people in the pirate world. Then we won't bother you. Thank you very much, Mr. Xia Luo, for your willingness to come forward and talk to us in person. Bello Betty bowed very politely. It's okay, I also like talking to you. I'll let Xiaoyan give it to you. You can go to any island you want. Then I'll trouble you, Sir Xia Luo. The two of them accepted Xia Luo's kindness. Otherwise they would not have a boat to leave, and they would not be able to leave this place when they went to the next island. It was in the sky. Seeing Bello Betty and Clara leaving, Peacock came up to them again. Unwilling to give up, she wanted to continue to provoke the relationship between the two parties. Master Xia Luo, is it really okay to just let them go like this? Peacock came forward and skillfully held Xia Luo's waist. Unexpectedly, she thought she and Xia Luo had known each other for a long time. This temperament is completely opposite to that of her grandmother Vice Admiral He. I don't know if it's because she ate the whip fruit and became a trainer. But Xia Luo enjoyed it very much. At least the huge peacock chest made him feel comfortable. Oh, what's your opinion? Xia Luo raised his eyebrows with a smile on his lips. He was a little curious about what Peacock was planning. It can be seen that Mr. Xia Luo likes these two women very much, right? Seeing Xia Luo's interested look, Peacock said slowly with a bright smile. Well, indeed, these two girls are very big, and I like them very much. Xia Luo pretended to think for a second, then nodded and admitted without hesitation. There's nothing wrong with admitting it, he just likes big ones. Does this guy only have Neko in his mind? Peacock secretly scolded Xia Luo twice. But this emotion was soon understood by Xia Luo's sense of sight, hearing and sex. Then Xia Luo looked at her with a smile. If Master Xia Luo likes these two women so much, why do you want to let them go? With Master Xia Luo's strength, even the Revolutionary Army probably won't provoke you because of these two women. We are pirates, so of course we have to grab what we want. If you leave them here, I can help you, Mr. Xia Luo, to train them. You will definitely be satisfied by then. Seeing this, Peacock could only continue to talk seductively, encouraging Xia Luo to directly imprison the two women here, and also offered to help Xia Luo train the two women. As long as Xia Luo takes action, there is no fear that Xia Luo and the Revolutionary Army will not fall out. After all, the Revolutionary Army is not someone to be trifled with. If they imprison Tu Qianbu without permission, they will definitely be beaten. That makes sense. Xia Luo thought for a while and nodded. Then what are you waiting for? I can't wait to train these two little kids. Loved it. Peacock said excitedly, not forgetting to control his expression, and unconsciously licked his lips with his tongue, full of temptation. Peacock has undoubtedly inherited the wisdom of Crane Vice Admiral, and she will not let go of any opportunity to perform tasks. Coupled with her words, she looks more like a pirate than a real pirate, at least more like a pirate than Xia Luo. The reasons given are so convincing that people will never doubt her identity. But it still doesn't work. I have a little hobby. I don't like forcing, seriously, women. Rather than forcing them, I prefer them to come to my door and do it on their own. Xia Luo said with a serious expression. Even XP is displayed vividly. 134,569. Peacock couldn't help but want to curse out loud, and he was cursing Xia Luo crazily in his heart. That's really a pity. Peacock could only pretend to be very disappointed and shook his head regretfully. How can I be sorry? Without those two little cuties, I still have you. I heard that you were the captain of some pirate group. What is your name? Xia Luo turned to her and smiled, holding her up with one hand and gently lifting her chin with the other hand, so that people could see her appearance more clearly. She has long, silky golden hair, a skull sun hat with a pirate logo on her head, and a colorful low-cut dress and miniskirt. Under the skirt, she seems to be in absolute territory with nothing on. There are also two small red cheeks on her face, which makes her full of charm and a little cute. My name is Bisuki. Although I am not famous, I am the captain of the New World Train Pirate Group. Sir Xia Luo's performance in the Summit War conquered me. So I came here specifically to find you to see if you are really as brave as Summit War. Peacock endured the discomfort, showed a charming smile, and said slowly to Xia Luo. Bissy, of course, G is just her pseudonym. Even if no one knows her identity, she doesn't want to use her real name for fear of being inferred by people in the Xia Luo pirates. Oh, the captain of the pirate ship. That's interesting. Why don't you ask your friends to introduce them to me? Xia Luo pretended not to know him and asked with interest. Of course he knew who they were, but he didn't know if there were other unknown marines among them. Of course. The peacock showed a generous smile, and then introduced Sadie Chan to Xia Luo. There was no such thing as a skylark giant in the picture. Sadie Chan seems to be the kind of person who has a lot of fun. Domino is silent and looks like a cool lady, and Hibari looks like a shy little girl. Including Peacock, these four people are all blonde beauties, but the golden color is different. Sadie Chan is more yellow, and Domino is lighter blonde. Hello Sir Xia Luo, just call me Sadie Bao. Sadie Chan showed a charming smile and moved her lips suggestively towards Xia Luo. Coupled with her leather jacket with some SM texture, it really poked Xia Luo's XP. Xia Luo likes this kind of beautiful and free things. Domino, please give me some advice, Domino said calmly. Her name is relatively common, so there is no need to cover it up with 1.5. My name is Alan. Please give me some advice. Skylark looks a little flustered and speaks nervously. She's so cute. I didn't expect there to be a little sister as cute as you among pirates. Seeing her like this aroused Xia Luo's interest even more, and she suddenly thought of the thought of teasing this little girl again. This, that, thank you for the compliment. Xia Luo's sudden words were beyond Yunk's expectation, and she began to panic again, not knowing what to do for a while. Alan is a little timid, but she is the sniper of our pirate group, and she is still a younger sister. Sir Xia Luo, please don't bully her too much. Peacock pretended to be angry and coquettish, complained about Xia Luo, and also helped Yunke to prevent her from showing any flaws. Okay, all of you, come here. Xia Luo liked Peacock's coquettishness and looked comfortable, then waved to the three of them and said. Sadie Chan was as familiar as a peacock from the moment he came up, occupying the other side of Xia Luo. Her thick bangs obscured her eyes, but it was not difficult to see her burning gaze. Xia Luo's move was caught off guard, but she quickly responded. Haha, Bis G, are there only 4 people on your boat? Is there no one else? Xia Luo turned to look at the peacock and asked. He wanted to know if there could be other undercover agents of the H or world government here. This is the rest of the people on my ship. In order to see you, Mr. Xia Luo, we have kicked off the other men. Those guys have been overtrained and are a bit boring. They are more interesting than Captain Xia Luo. In response to his inquiry, Peacock naturally had an answer. Chapter 173 The Confrontation Between Marine and Pirates. As the captain of a pirate ship, naturally there can't be just 4 people, so the reason she gave was to drive all the other men who had been trained by her off the ship. Then he brought 3 people over to seek refuge with Xia Luo, which would be more convincing and increase Xia Luo's trust. I see, but forget it, no one else is important, you 4 are enough. Xia Luo looked like she suddenly understood, and then said nonchalantly. Reiju, I'll leave this to you. I'll take the 4 of them back first. Xia Luo said to Reiju, who was silent from beginning to end. Yes, my Captain Xia Luo, you are really enjoying yourself. Reiju glanced at Peacock and the others, and then said meaningfully. She had felt that something was wrong with these people before, but the other party's behavior was completely consistent with the style of a pirate, not like a marine. But Xia Luo is so interested in these people that she took them with her when they first met. Is it really just because they are beautiful? There is obviously some secret inside. Or maybe Xia Luo has recognized their identities. As one of the people who knows Xia Luo best, she can easily see the meaning behind Xia Luo's abnormal behavior. So she cooperated with him, but there was also a hint of resentment in her tone, and her words were also a bit strange. The drudgery was all left to her, while Xia Luo went back to enjoy herself alone, which inevitably made her a little emotional. I'll give you some rewards tonight. Okay, let's make some arrangements first. Xia Luo naturally saw Reiju's mood, and then said comfortingly. Okay, I understand, then I'll wait for you tonight. Hearing this, Reiju also winked at him and looked forward to the reward Xia Luo mentioned. Then Xia Luo turned around and wanted to leave with the four of them. Wait a minute, Mr. Xia Luo. Suddenly, a female voice came from behind him and stopped him. Xia Luo turned around and looked over, only to see a beautiful woman with a hot figure and black slightly curly hair calling him. Who are you? Xia Luo didn't recognize Alvida for a moment. First time we meet, my name is Alvida, and I came here specifically from East Blue to see you. My name is Queen Sweetheart. Hello, Master Xia Luo. Alvida and Queen Sugar introduced themselves to Xia Luo. Xia Luo nodded in response. After the two said their names, he finally remembered their identities. 24. One is the first villain Luffy defeated, and the other is the villain who appeared in the theatrical version. Both of them belong to the pirate camp, so they are not all undercovers at last. Master Xia Luo, don't you think I'm more beautiful than that woman over there? And I'm also a pirate captain, and I will be more obedient to you than them. Do you want to consider bringing me with you? Where are the two of us? Xia Luo's seemingly cold and calm response did not dampen Alvida's enthusiasm. She generously showed her slender waist and body and said to Xia Luo. Road. Although the sweet queen next to her didn't speak, her behavior was the same as Alvida's. Come here too. Xia Luo hesitated for less than a second before being convinced by their Yamato in vain. Great, Sir Xia Luo, you will definitely feel wise in your decision, and we will serve you well. Only a powerful person like you is worthy of such beauty as us. The two looked happy and came to Xia Luo happily. Just when they were about to cuddle up, there were already two people in Xia Luo's arms. All of a sudden, four pairs of little eyes were staring at each other, each looking unhappy. Master Xia Luo, what is there to appreciate about a woman like this who has no characteristics? I think it would be better to reward them to your subordinates, which can also stabilize the loyalty of your subordinates. Young Master Peacock spoke first, scorning and belittling the two of them without hesitation. She seemed to have a natural incompatibility with Alvida. This might be because the other person's fruit restrained her, which made her very unhappy. I think you are the one. In terms of beauty, I will definitely not be inferior to anyone, and my skin will be smoother and will definitely give Xia Zero Wooden Golem a supreme body. Test. Alvida responded mercilessly. Haha, what's the use of having smooth skin? There are four of us, and I have the attributes of a sister like little Alan. Master Xia Luo will definitely like us more. The peacock looked disdainful, then pulled the little skylark over, gently pulling her little face and chuckling. The latter looked a little embarrassed and didn't know where to put his little hands. In the end, he could only tap his chest lightly, looking a little embarrassed. HMPH, although our hair colors are different, my friendship with Tian Xinjiang is already better than that of sisters, and I will never lose to you. Alvida and Queen Sweetheart also formed an indestructible alliance, and Kaido showed no weakness. For a moment, neither of them was convinced by the other, so they just gritted their teeth and stared. Okay, please stop arguing. No one will die if you argue like this. Xia Luo helplessly interrupted the argument between the two, then put Sadie-chan on the other hand, and then took Alvida and Queen Sweetheart over. In this way, a situation of two on the left and two on the left was formed. This is no longer the normal hugging from left to right, it is directly hugging x2 from left to right. Master Xia Luo, wait, we can do it too, no matter what we do. Just as Xia Luo and 6 others were about to leave, someone started shouting behind him again. He didn't know the people this time, and there were more of them. These women also tried to imitate Alvida's methods in order to gain Xia Luo's favor. In response, Xia Luo started to have a headache. There are a lot of girls here, but he only has one, and he doesn't know clone technique, so he can't take care of so many at once. Reiju, please. Xia Luo turned to look at Reiju helplessly. No. Reiju also looked at this scene with a headache, and then stopped these women. Xia Luo breathed a sigh of relief, and then left here with the girls. When I left, there was only one person, but when I came back, there were 7 people. Hancock couldn't help but become jealous when he saw this scene. Master Xia Luo, who are these people? Aren't you going to deal with the Revolutionary Army? Why did you come back with a few more women? Hancock narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Peacock and Alvida carefully, his cheeks slightly bulging as if he was angry. Of course this is just her acting coquettishly with Xia Luo. There is absolutely no way these women can compete with her because she is so beautiful. Open black lens bracket 013903224 Filu 193,062,370 close black lens bracket. It happened before you knew it. Don't worry about it, Hancock. Xia Luo sneered and stepped forward to comfort Hancock and BABY5. She had just left them behind to deal with things. As a result, he got mixed up with other girls, which was really unjustifiable. Xia Luo was there to comfort him, and several other people were shocked by Hancock's appearance. This is the Pirate Empress, Boa Hancock. Why is she here? Peacock said with a shocked look on his face. Boa Hancock is obviously one of the Shichibukai and a pirate who cooperates with their marine side. Why is he with Xia Luo, the four emperors, now? Has the Pirate Empress betrayed the world government? Is this the rumored Pirate Empress? Damn. She is a powerful enemy. Alvida bit her nails and said unwillingly. Even she had to admit that the Empress' appearance was superior to theirs. And the charm revealed by his inadvertent movements even affected them. Hancock, who has fully awakened his abilities, is so terrifying, even women can't refuse his casual actions. It is simply a charm that kills all men, women, old and young. Luo. Sir Xia Luo, this is the Pirate Empress Boa Hancock. She is from the world government, why is she here? Peacock recovered from the shock and asked in surprise. She needs to get information from Xia Luo to confirm whether the Empress has really betrayed the world government or is just cooperating with her subordinates. Then pass this information back to Marine. Huh? Who are you? Do I need your permission for my concubine to appear? After hearing her inquiry, Hancock said with disdain. No. Just a little curious. Faced with Hancock's strong aura, Peacock couldn't help but flinch. Well, Hancock has broken away from his status as Shichibukai and is now considered one of ours. Xia Luo said casually, not afraid that the news would spread back to the world government. Anyway, it won't be long before Marine will definitely discover this. After all, the Amazon lily has completely disappeared. After thinking about the things involved, you can quickly guess that the only one who can do such a thing is Xia Luo. Otherwise, with the Empress's current strength, few could destroy Amazon lily silently until nothing was left. The most likely possibility is that Xia Luo moved the entire island. Moreover, Hancock will not stay on Longyu Island forever and pretend to be dead. One day he will be exposed. Leaved from the identity of Shichibukai. How could it be? I have never received such news at all. Everyone shouted in surprise. This kind of thing will usually spread all over the world, and eventually it will become known to everyone. It's just a unilateral withdrawal from Shichibukai's identity. I don't want to explain what Marine is saying. Now I appear here as the wife of Mr. Xia Luo. I have long been tired of cooperating with the world government people. Hancock explained with disdain. I see, that's how it is. Peacock could only show a forced smile and said, from now on, you will be members of my pirate group, and you should get along well with each other from now on. Xia Luo took the peacock in her arms and said with a wicked look on her face. Now in his arms is the Pirate Empress and the other is an undercover agent of the world government Marine. This scene is really interesting. Yes, as long as it's for Master Xia Luo, I will endure it with all my strength. Hancock looked at Xia Luo longingly and shyly and said. Peacock still looked reluctant, a little restless. Although she was an undercover agent, admitting her identity like this still made her feel uncomfortable. Time passed quickly, and a few more days passed. Another unexpected person came under the sea. What a surprise. I didn't expect you to come to me. Ice Witch Whitey, what's the matter? Xia Luo looked at Whitey with strange eyes, wondering why this woman came to him. Could it be that he came here to sacrifice himself after falling in love with his handsome self? Xia Luo thought secretly narcissistically in her heart. Whitey is not young anymore, but the world is like this. Even if he is twice as old as Xia Luo, Whitey still has the appearance of a young girl, and his figure is still very good. Hello, Mr. Xia Luo, do you know what an honor to be named? Whitey bowed to him politely. I'm here to thank His Excellency Xia Luo. Then she stated her purpose. Thank you. Is it Whitebeard's business? Xia Luo thought for a moment, and the only kindness that could be remembered by the people of the Whitebeard pirates was Whitebeard's business. In the Summit War, because of Whitebeard's last wish, he helped the people of the White Group evacuate and took Whitebeard's body from Blackbeard's hands, preventing Blackbeard's plan from succeeding. He also defeated Blackbeard afterwards, which was undoubtedly a great kindness to the people of the White Group. Well, I heard from Marco that the medicine that saved Ace was obtained from you, as well as Dad's body, and about Blackbeard. Thank you very much. Whitey bowed again and expressed his sincere thanks to Xia Luo. It doesn't matter, it's not an important thing to me, speaking of you. How are the Whitebeard pirates doing now? Xia Luo waved her hand and said nonchalantly, and then asked curiously about Bai Tuan's current situation. No, your help in Summit War is a great debt of gratitude to each of us. Whitey said seriously, and then continued with a helpless look. After my father died, many vixens became voyeuristic and wanted to challenge us. The Whitebeard pirates continued to invade the island protected by Whitebeard. Marco and the others couldn't come because of this matter. They needed to deal with those guys. The current pirate group has Marco and Ace taking on the important responsibility of safeguarding their father's reputation and prestige. Strict. The world of pirates is so cruel, and the island where Whitebeard took refuge after his death will naturally attract the prying eyes of others. Countless people who have poured into the new world want to step on the Whitebeard pirates, who have lost their backbone, to establish their own prestige in the new world. But none of them have self-awareness and do not clearly understand the weakness of their own strength. Even if the Whitebeard pirates have been lost, they're definitely not something these people can invade. I see. Brother Ma and the others are very busy. As for your thanks, I have received them. Is there anything else? No. Verbal thanks alone are not enough to express our gratitude to you. Regarding Xia Luo's casual words, which seemed to drive people away, Whitey quickly waved his hands and said, "We, the Whitebeard pirates, have nothing to repay you with, so I have made the decision that one of my former captains of the Whitebeard pirates will officially join you. At your service." Whitey swore with a serious expression. You want to join my pirate group? Xia Luo looked surprised. This good guy really came to his door. I thought he was overthinking it, but it turned out that he came with this purpose from the beginning. Yes, only by fighting for you, Lord Xia Luo, can we repay the favor we owe you. And I also heard that Lord Xia Luo seems to like it very much. As long as you don't mind, I can do this kind of thing for you, Lord Xia Luo. Whitey nodded first to confirm that he heard correctly, and then spoke slowly with a shy look on his face. In addition to her gaze, she would look at him quietly from time to time. There is absolutely no problem with Xia Luo's appearance, and with his powerful strength, it is not surprising that Lin Dibe would be attracted to him. As soon as this statement came out, Xia Luo was really surprised. Do all the girls in New World speak so straightforwardly? This was the first real meeting, and I was already ready to devote myself to him. The other party is one of the famous pirates in the New World, and now he actually wants to work for Xia Luo, and he also voluntarily sacrifices himself. Peach Blossom luck seems to be a bit strong recently, and all these women are rushing to deliver it to my door. Xia Luo touched her face and couldn't help but think narcissistically. Of course you are welcome to join me, but do Marco and the others know about this? It would naturally not be Marco's idea to let people under his own pirate group join another pirate group. That can only be Whitey's own idea. I don't know, but I think they won't object. Whitey shook his head and said with a serious expression. She was originally a member of the Whitebeard pirates, and she was older than Marco in terms of seniority. Later, he broke away from Whitebeard's pirate group and formed his own pirate group, becoming his. The forces under his command are fighting everywhere. Chapter 174 Wanokuni, Kurozumi the head of the serpent. It can be said that she is the super veteran of the Whitebeard pirates, and Marco cannot command her. Besides, joining Xia Luo is also a good destination. After learning the news, Marco would only wish her well. I see, then you are welcome to join, Whitey. Haha, I am very happy that you can make preparations before joining. With a happy look on her face, Xia Luo held up Whitey's chin and leaned forward, speaking very intimately. No, it's nothing. Captain Xia Luo, your kindness to me is greater than this. Whitey's face turned red like a little girl. Seeing Xia Luo's response, she also changed her identity in time, from a pirate ship captain to a crew member of Xia Luo. But her shy look made Xia Luo surprised. She didn't expect that this famous ice witch was still an inexperienced girl. Only a little girl who has never experienced this kind of reaction would be so shy. Thinking of this, the corner of Xia Luo's mouth raised a smile, and her face slowly moved closer. Whitey couldn't help but swallow nervously, then closed his eyes and raised his head, as if he was letting Xia Luo handle it. He lived up to Whitey's expectations, a long time. Wait for the two to separate. Rather than you coming here to repay your kindness, I hope you come here because you want to join, but don't worry, since you have joined, I will treat you equally. Seeing that Whitey was still a little confused, Xia Luo smiled and said. Then please give me your advice in the future. Whitey muttered with blurred eyes. With the addition of Whitey, Xia Luo's pirate group has once again grown. Nami and others naturally welcome her to join. One more person means one more person to share the burden, and the pirate group can grow stronger. This is what they want to see. Xia Luo has no shortage of high-end, mid-range and low-end capabilities. The high-end combat power includes him and Shogun, and the near-end power level includes Nami and Karina. Now if it were his pirate group, they wouldn't necessarily lose in a 10-game battle with the world government. A few more days passed. In the main square of Longyu Island, Xia Luo and the girls gathered here. Unknowingly, it was the day for him to sign in again, and it was time to work. He was looking forward to what he could sign in this time. But this time the location is Wanokuni. Xia Luo planned to go alone. It was inappropriate to take the girls to Wanokuni, after all, they were probably going to have a big fight with Kaido. But Xia Luo is not in vain. With Xiao Yin and Xia Luo, they are enough to compete with the 100 Years pirates. It's not some at war there, it doesn't have as many high-end combat capabilities as Marine. Even if Jin and Quinn are good in strength, it is absolutely impossible to stop Xiao Yin's strength. Ding Tian and Xiao Ma Jie can compete with the Admiral level for a short time. As for Beast's pirates' other combat abilities, he didn't take them seriously at all. Those who can block his Conquerors are pretty good, but with his Conquerors, how much combat power can he still have to intervene in the battle between Xia Luo and Kaido? But in order to prevent accidents, Xia Luo still kept the girls behind. As for enjoying the scenery of Wanokuni, he can just move all the Wanokuni here when the time comes, and the people inside are also good slaves. Because of Wanakuna's prototype, Xia Luo doesn't have a good impression of this country. But he is not a devil, he just needs some labor force, and Wanokuni happens to be a big country that produces sea stone. This is an important material, and Xia Luo will certainly need it. Therefore, keeping these people as black slaves to help him mine is definitely the best choice. As for whether there will be anyone who resists inside, haha, a group of people who can't even resist Kaido, how can they threaten him? He has already made preparations to arrive at Wanokuni in some form. It's not like he has done nothing these days, he has shown his comfortable and luxurious life to the fullest, doing everything a time traveler should enjoy. Peacock, Alvida and the girls of Whitey were eaten by Xia Luo early. Alvida and Whitey's reactions were okay. After all, they were ready. They were here to devote themselves to Xia Luo. Peacock and others felt a little uncomfortable. It felt like Xia Luo had made them dirty, but it was hard to show it. However, for the undercover mission, this kind of thing can only be endured, but one of them actually enjoyed it. That's Sadie-chan. After these few days of training, Sadie-chan seems to have the feeling of abandoning world government and truly joining Xia Luo. It seems that Sadie-chan is serious and is really conquered by Xia Luo. In other words, while she was S, she was also an M. She began to enjoy Xia Luo's various trainings and began to cling to Xia Luo often. Is it really okay if you go alone? Nami asked worriedly. Xia Luo didn't hide where he was going and told Nami directly. Just like the last time I went to Summit War, Xia Luo always does something unexpected. No problem. I've been to the battle between Whitebeard and Marine. There's no need to be afraid of a Kaido. Xia Luo waved his hand and said indifferently, why don't you take us with you? We are no longer flower vases. I have a good training, I can help you a lot. Nami stepped forward and helped him straighten his collar, just like a wife sending her husband off to work. Then she leaned into Xia Luo's arms with some disappointment and said slowly. Xia Luo has been trying to find ways to improve their strength, and they themselves have worked hard, but for some reason, the bottom wear has never allowed them to really fight. This kind of deliberate protection made her feel very lost. She also wants to be able to help Xia Luo. You are all my women. I don't want to see you injured, and haven't you helped me a lot? Just leave this kind of fighting to me. Xia Luo touched her head lovingly and then said, I'll leave it to you at home. Just rest assured and wait for the news that I will defeat Kaido and bring Wanokuni back. After saying goodbye, he said meaningfully. Nami understood what he meant and gave him an okay gesture. This naturally means that we should pay attention to Peacock and others. Although they have devoted themselves to Xia Luo to win his trust, they have always been guarded by everyone. Peacock thought that his identity had not been exposed, but in fact he had been under Xia Luo's surveillance. Even if she secretly passed the message to Marine using a phone bug in the middle of the night, it was monitored by Nami Xia Luo. She completely didn't realize that Xia Luo and Nami's Thunderfruit could cover the entire island, and they could also hear other people's conversations. Xia Luo whistled and called Xiao Yin. Then he rode on the dragon's back, leaving only 2 fiery red flashes of dragon energy in the air. The peacock touched the little phone bug he had hidden on his body. Xia Luo left, but the news had to be passed back to Marine. The battle between the two might make it easier for Marine to catch it. But she didn't expect that Nami would silently observe her touching the small phone. But remembering Xia Luo's previous instructions, she had no intention of informing him. He had already expected this kind of thing. Whether Marine comes or not has no effect on him. Anyway, he can fly and make the island float. Even if Marine wanted to attack, they couldn't let the ship fly into the sky. That would really become Xia Luo's target. A single mine bomb cannot knock Marine directly from high altitude into the sea. In addition, it is impossible to have all the high-end combat powers. Just 1 or 2 will not be able to stop Xia Luo at all. They may even be involved in the battle between him and Kaido and be beaten to death by the two. After all, when facing an enemy like Marine, the pirate camp would of course give priority to Marine. This is their tacit understanding among pirates. Although Wanokuni is still closed to the country now. But it's not difficult to get there, there is still the Wanokuni Eternal Record Pointer. The difficulty is that ordinary people who want to enter Wanokuni need to cross a dangerous sea area and then climb an extremely dangerous waterfall. Only those with a few big carp pulling the boat like Auntie can get up there. Another way is to dive from the hidden cave behind the waterfall on Onigashima. Enter it and then ascend to the island. However, it is also heavily guarded by Kaido's troops, and ordinary people cannot enter. But these are useless to Xia Luo, who can fly in the sky. Following the direction of the record pointer, Little Silver left 2 red smoke traces in the sky in a straight line. When passing by many islands, some people who did not know the situation looked up at the strange phenomenon in the sky. The ignorant people thought this was some kind of strange phenomenon in the sky and the earth, and a rainbow formed for unknown reasons. When there are no outsiders, Xiaoyan can fly at his fastest speed. Both it and Xia Luo's body can withstand the high temperature of such high-speed flight. If there were other people, it would not dare to fly so fast, because they would not be able to withstand the high temperature and would probably be directly roasted into jerky. Finally reached. After a while, Xia Luo looked at Wanokuni below and said slowly. He is currently over the flower capital. The civilians below were looking up at the sky with confusion, looking at the figures of Xia Luo and Xiao Yin. Xia Luo is not flying at an altitude of 10,000 meters, so they can still see. A huge object stayed in the sky above the flower city. They were all wondering if this was someone from Beast's pirates. Haha, I'd better say hello to the general here first, lest others say I'm not polite. Looking at the bustling flower city, Xia Luo murmured to herself. Xia Luo jumped straight from the sky, while Xiao Yin circled around and then stayed on the highest crater in the flower capital. It glanced at everyone below with cold eyes. The curious eyes of the civilians shrank, and they all felt the pressure from Xiao Yin's eyes. Immediately, everyone lowered their heads and kept their gazes as low as possible to prevent their peripheral vision from catching sight of that oppressive figure. It vividly demonstrates the etiquette of bending down and bowing the head of their nation. Through her special knowledge and perception, Xia Luo came to the most gorgeous building in the flower capital. Orochi-sama. It's not good. A ninja ran into a room in panic. There was an extremely ugly man inside with a very big head. But for such a man, there are several beautiful women playing and dancing for him, and next to him is a beautiful woman with green hair. Son. This man is none other than Wanokuna's General Kurozumi. What happened? Why are you making so much noise? Didn't you see that I was busy? Orochi, who was still very happy, suddenly showed an impatient look on his face, frowned and shouted at the intruding ninja. No. Orochi-sama. Someone. The ninja looked panicked and was about to explain, but he couldn't hold back a word for a long time. When he finally said it, he suddenly stopped. A long knife penetrated directly from his back to his chest. It was precisely because of this attack that he stopped what he wanted to say. His weak hands tried to pull out the blade by tentacles, but the handle was behind him, so no matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't pull it out. Especially the person behind him thrust the knife forward, directly pushing him into the air and turning him into a skewer. At this moment, he finally put down his hand weakly, tilted his head and sent it directly to the direction of the big snake. The unwilling eyes before death were staring closely at this general. Oh, someone is coming. There is an assassin, protect me. The big snake stood on its head, rolled and crawled back 2 positions, and did not stop until it collapsed the screen and shouted loudly. Ah! The dancers and geishas suddenly screamed and huddled in a corner. Only the green-haired woman who was next to the big snake at the beginning was looking towards the door with a curious expression. With a flick of the blade, the dead ninja was thrown to the ground and rolled around a few times, but by chance, he was facing the Kurozumi snake. Those unbending eyes scared the snake so much that it wet its pants. A foul smell came from under him. The visitor swung the blade of the sword, blood splattered directly on the tatami, and then slowly sheathed the sword. After he put away the knife and walked out from behind the door, everyone saw his face clearly. I saw a strange man with short blonde hair and handsome appearance walking out. It was Xia Luo who came to Wano-kuni. Everyone here doesn't know him, because they all lack knowledge of the outside world and can't recognize the 4 emperors, let alone Xia Luo, who is still a rising star among pirates. You. Who are you? What do you want to do? I warn you not to mess around. This is Wano-kuni. I am the 2nd general of Wano-kuni. You can't get out of this island if you touch me, and I still have a cooperative relationship with Kaido. If something happens to me, he won't let you go, Li Jiaojiao. The frightened Kurozumi snake ripped out Kaido's skin. He knew that Kaido was very famous in the outside world, and ordinary pirates did not dare to be bold after hearing about Kaido, and had to consider whether they could get something from Kaido. Only this time he threatened the wrong person. Haha, let me introduce myself first. My name is Geodu. Regarding the panicked behavior of Terutan Norochi, Xia Luo looked calm and collected. He didn't care at all about his threats. Kurozumi was still yelling in panic, not listening to Xia Luo's words at all. No need to shout. While you were still here listening to the song and watching the ropes, I had already taken care of those little brothers of yours. Xia Luo frowned, looked at his unsightly side, and said in a calm tone. Especially the pool of yellow liquid under him made Xia Luo feel disgusted. As soon as these words came out, Kurozumi, who was shouting loudly, couldn't help being stunned. All of his samurai and ninjas were dead. In such a short time, he didn't even receive news of the invasion. No. Impossible. How could my Orochi Yuding Lei Zhang do it so easily? They were killed. Jia, Kurozumi said with disbelief. Do you think anyone answered you after you called for so long? Xia Luo tilted her head and looked at him with a retarded expression. This is, even Kurozumi, who says he doesn't believe it, has a vague hunch that all his men have really been taken care of. The murderer was this young man who looked very handsome. You. What do you want to get? You must have come here to want something, right? As long as you let me go, I can treat this as if it didn't happen and I will give you what you want. Can give it to you. Kurozumi, who was in an extremely tense state, regained some composure and calmed down a little. If Xia Luo didn't kill him, it would be hard to find anything to do with him. This was the last straw for him to save his life. Chapter 175 The Most Failed Princess, Kazuki Hiyori. He knew very well that his own strength was absolutely impossible to resist the young man in front of him. Being able to deal with his own Orochi Gode fans and many samurai ninjas silently, Only Kaido can achieve this level of strength, right? No, Kaido's fighting style will definitely alarm everyone. He can kill but not silently. Oh, how can you be so successful? No wonder you can become a general. You can be considered a person who appreciates promotion. Xia Luo nodded and smiled with satisfaction. Haha, Mr. Xia Luo, you have praised me. I will definitely dedicate all the things I have to you. After hearing what Xia Luo said, Kurozumi immediately changed his appearance, rubbed his little hands and said with a humble look. The majestic lord of a country now behaves like a servant. Okay, I'm welcome. Hearing what he said, Xia Luo showed a sunny smile, slowly pulled out her sword in his frightened eyes, and then said slowly. I'll take your head. Call out. Kurozumi wanted to wave back to block him, but in terms of speed, he couldn't even match a marine soldier, so how could he block Xia Luo's slashing attack? A head slowly fell to the ground and rolled a few times before stopping. Ah! The dancers and geishas screamed again, and even the green-haired woman couldn't help but open her eyes with a look of disbelief. The general of his own country died in front of him, how could these dancers? How could the geishas not be frightened? They had a premonition that Wano Kuni was going to be in chaos. But the current problem is more about worrying about the safety of his own life. The devil in front of him who is killing without blinking an eye, Kurozumi, the snake said he would give him everything he wanted, but now his head has been chopped off. What a hatred and resentment this is. Stop shouting. Xia Luo took back the knife, took out his ears, and said in a calm tone. These commanding words immediately caused these women to stop shouting and crying. Now they don't even dare to take a breath. I was afraid that the other party would get impatient and kill them all. Xia Luo ignored these frightened women and walked straight to where Kurozumi was sitting. He grabbed the headless Kurozumi snake and threw it to the center of the room. However, the strange thing is that the Kurozumi snake with its head cut off did not shed much blood. Xia Luo sat directly in the position of Kurozumi and stopped the green-haired woman next to him very skillfully. The other party naturally placed his hands on Xia Luo's chest and leaned against him, with a charming smile on his lips. This woman is, of course, Kazuki Hiyori, the princess of Wano Kuni, 113. Kazuki Hiyori is the most shameless and most crotch-shaped princess among all the princesses Xia Luo has ever seen. Generally speaking, princesses who have lost their country have the characteristics of being strong, kind, brave and forbearing. Vivi went undercover in the Baroque studio to obtain information. Shirahoshi has been living in the tower for so many years carrying the truth about his mother's murder. Rebecca also became stronger through her own efforts and wanted to defeat Doflamingo and restore Dressrosa's past. Although these people finally solved the bad situation with the efforts of the protagonist Luffy. But Kazuki Hiyori is the only one who doesn't think about becoming stronger. She plays and sings every day and relies on others to help her family regain the position of general. When she was young, Hesong left Hesong who had taken care of her inexplicably and immediately went to a brothel. This was despite her not knowing that the owner of this store was Denjiro, one of her father's 9 red scabbard heroes. What follows is even more funny. After working undercover for so many years on Orochi's side to obtain information, Robin easily extracted the information in one night. This further reflects the princess's incompetence, and it can also be seen that she actually really likes this position. But her version is also ahead of the other princesses. The previous princesses waited until Luffy arrived to solve the problem. Kazuki Hiyori immediately understood that he couldn't solve it at all, and he didn't need to work hard at all. He could just wait for others to solve it. That's why I devoted myself wholeheartedly to my career and became a wise man. It is also possible that Kazuki Hiyori knew about the problem with the prophecy and chose to just lie down and wait for the moment when the prophecy came to get Wano Kuni back. But now this prophecy will no longer happen, because with the arrival of Xia Luo, he will break everything in the prophecy. In the plot, when the Kurozumi snake had its last head, Hikaru Rihei appeared, and Xia Luo thought that the last head was cut off by this princess. After all, the other party said that he wanted to kill the Kurozumi snake himself. I never thought that the princess just came here to play and sing, and then became furious with incompetence. In the end, nothing was accomplished. It was Denjiro who gave Kurozumi the final blow, showing his incompetence vividly. Afterwards, she also used the storyteller to educate the next generation of Wano Kuni by portraying herself as a heroine. But even the princess who was completely failed in shaping has her own use, that is, becoming a tool in Xia Luo's hands. This country attaches great importance to the legitimacy of bloodline. It just so happens that Kazuki Hiyori is the bloodline of the previous generation of generals in this country. With her, wouldn't it be easy to threaten the civilians and samurai here to become their black slaves, CECC? As for Momosuke, that guy must die, and it is difficult to understand the hatred in Xia Luo's heart. So the only black slave who can threaten the Wano Kuni people and samurai to work for him is Kazuki Hiyori. Doesn't she like to play and sing? Then just play and sing for Xia Luo from now on, and she won't need to work hard on national affairs. How did you dance just now? Let's continue dancing now. Xia Luo sat in the seat where Kurozumi had just been, drinking a small drink comfortably, and then shouted to the geisha huddled in the corner. The general has finished his visit, but the real owner here has not yet visited. Xia Luo chose to wait here for his personal arrival. He believed that Kaido must have sensed his arrival, so there was no need for him to go to Wano Kuni. The geishas were frightened by his shout, but they did not dare to disobey his order. He forced himself to stand up, walked to the center of the room, and surrounded the body of the Kurozumi snake. The geishas glanced at the corpse of Kurozumi on the ground with fear and disgust. Then they danced very reluctantly, but this scene is a bit strange. As if performing some dark ritual, a group of dancers surrounded the two corpses. The dancers were quite scared, but Xia Luo found it quite interesting. Is this the happiness that capitalists enjoy? He just happened to recruit so many women, so he had to arrange for Kazuki Hiyori to help him teach him, and then really form his own dance troupe. It's not enough for Pacia to teach dance alone. Sir, why did you come to Wano Kuni? Aren't you afraid of Kaido, the protector of the country here? The little girl is very curious. Oh, by the way, the little girl's name is Xiaozi. Kazuki Hiyori asked curiously with clear eyes and a gentle look on his face. This is the biggest skill she has learned over the years, acting. She can change her attitude 180 degrees towards the people she serves, and treat different people with different attitudes. Being able to master such power without having to learn the marine system can be regarded as her talent. You are Kazuki Oden's daughter, Kazuki Hiyori, right? Don't pry into too many things, just do what you should do. Regarding Kazuki Hiyori's gentle and tentative inquiry, Xia Luo didn't hesitate at all. He pinched her chin and small face and turned her to him, making her mouth appear in AO shape, and then said with an indifferent expression. At this moment, Kazuki Hiyori's heart was in turmoil. How could someone she had never met know her identity? The first thing she thought of was, could there be a spy on her side? Because Xia Luo's attitude doesn't seem very good, it means that he doesn't. He is not one of our own, he is probably an enemy. But not many people know his identity. Denjiro? It's impossible, he has been by his side all the time, and Denjiro's loyal appearance doesn't seem to be fake. Then, could it be Kawamatsu? Since leaving Kawamatsu, Kazuki Hiyori has never seen him again. Apart from all the impossibilities, the only possibility left was that he had been betrayed, and the betrayer was Hisong, one of his father's former subordinates. She didn't know that Kawamatsu was actually captured by the Kurozumi snake and imprisoned in the quarry for 11 years, and he has not escaped yet. Sir, you have mistaken the person. The little girl is just a geisha. How could she be the daughter of Kazuki Oden? Here, Kazuki Hiyori did not admit her identity, but directly denied it. She was also afraid that Xia Luo was deceiving her, but how could Xia Luo's very sure tone mean that he was deceiving her? Moreover, he told the truth very accurately. It doesn't matter whether you admit it or not now, you will admit your identity later. Xia Luo didn't pay attention, but watched the weird ceremony in the venue with great interest. The geisha danced around the body of the Kurozumi snake. Are you still pretending to be dead? Xia Luo suddenly said something for no reason. Everyone was stunned by his words, especially the dancers who were still dancing. Who is pretending to be dead? There are two dead people on the ground, one is the headless snake Kurozumi. The other one is a ninja lying on the ground, is it him? But looking at the other party's dead eyes, this is unlikely. Then why did Xia Luo suddenly say that someone was pretending to be dead? Before they could figure it out, the headless Kurozumi snake suddenly moved its fingers. A huge change suddenly occurred in his body. Originally only his body was left, but now he suddenly turned into a monster. And there were 7 snake heads growing out. There should have been 8, but one of the snake heads was already empty. Needless to say, it must be the one on the ground. Have you actually noticed it? But it's no use anymore, I have already felt it. Kaido is coming here. Kaido will definitely not let you go, ha 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 ha. Kurozumi, who turned into Yamada no Orochi, laughed unbridled. The geisha and dancers were all frightened by his appearance. At this time, they really couldn't bear it. Unable to bear it any longer, he opened the door and ran away. In this short period of time, they have experienced countless fear attacks. It is considered good that they have not suffered a mental breakdown, but they have definitely reached their mental limit. Now they just want to escape from here. Only Kazuki Hiyori remained where she was, because her waist was still in Xia Luo's hands, although she had no intention of breaking free. Feeling that he had a supporter, Kurozumi suddenly became arrogant, and then he turned his attention to Kazuki Hiyori, who was leaning on Xia Luo's arms. Purple-chan. No, should I call you Purple-chan or Kazuki Hiyori? Kurozumi's tone also became complicated. He didn't know whether what Xia Luo just said was true or false, but he expected that what he just heard was false. Orochi-sama, you were joking. Do you also believe the joke told by Master Xia Luo? The little girl is just a geisha. Kazuki Hiyori covered his mouth and smiled reluctantly. This is really bad. If my identity is exposed in front of Kurozumi, all the hard work of so many years will be in vain. Although she didn't do anything, she just played and sang. Then what are you doing now, clinging to this man? Could it be that you are really the daughter of Kazuki Oden, and do you want this man to help you take revenge? Hearing that, Kurozumi chose to believe her for the time being, but when he saw Kazuki, the sight of Xia Luo making him feel very unhappy. How could he not be angry when a woman he had never really succeeded in was now leaning on someone else? On the other side, Kazuki Hiyori was confused. Looking at the current situation, Kurozumi will definitely not be able to defeat Xia Luo. And it seems that Xia Luo is not afraid of the coming Kaido at all, and seems to have his own place to rely on. She didn't know whether to betray Kurozumi and join Xia Luo's side, or continue to stay undercover with Kurozumi. She is quite familiar with Kurozumi, but she knows nothing about Xia Luo. She was really confused now, and her hesitant expression was noticed by Kurozumi. Seeing this, Kurozumi was furious, but now he dares to be angry but dare not speak out. He can be arrogant because Kaido is coming. But he will never lose another head when he steps forward. On the other side, time goes back to when Xia Luo first arrived at Wano-kuni. Kaido on Onigashima was drinking wine and was extremely drunk. He was crying loudly when he was drunk. This was his frequent madness after drinking. That's enough, brother Kaido, you drank too much. Beside Kaido, Jin is trying to persuade Kaido to drink less. How can you get drunk with just this little wine? Are you raising fish? There is still so much wine in the bottle for me to drink. Drunk people usually don't admit that they are drunk. Instead, Kaido thrust a nearby bottle of wine into Jin's arms and let him drink. Brother Kaido, I'm not here to drink with you. Don't you need to worry about Master Yamato? She has been looking for someone to go to see. It seems to be Gold D. Rogers' son Ace. Master Yamato knows this person at some point, so don't you need to worry about her? Jin looked like he had a headache. He glanced at the bottle of wine in his hand and didn't drink it because it was too troublesome to take off his mask. Huh? Roger? Ha 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 ha. Roger is dead. He wants to find Roger. Is he going to find Roger's grave? Marine doesn't know how to do this kind of thing, so don't worry about him. Lousy doesn't have a good-for-nothing son. Kaido didn't hear what Jin said at all, but only heard a few sporadic words. Among them, Roger and going out to sea to find someone were the words he heard most clearly. Yamato has always had a wish since he became sensible, that is, to go to sea to find his mother. After learning some of his mother's identity from her, he never gave up. Kaido, who had already lost someone, did not want to lose his daughter, so he chose to imprison his daughter. But he also obeys his daughter's wishes in some matters, such as Yamato. Claiming to be a man, he called Yamato his son. But those people under my command cannot control Master Yamato. If Master Yamato continues to cause trouble, the operational efficiency of the weapons factory will be greatly reduced. Seeing that Kaido didn't want to care, Jin was really helpless. But we can't really ignore it. If Yamato makes such a fuss, the efficiency of the weapons factory will be greatly reduced, which is not a good thing. That bastard son, in this case, we can't ignore it completely. Hearing that Kaido was furious, he drank the wine in his hand in one breath and then stood up. It was at this time that Jin and Kaido felt something at the same time. The drunk Kaido had also sobered up halfway, and their eyes became sharp. Walking out of the house, both of them looked in Wanakuna's direction. They seemed to be able to see thousands of miles away, and their eyes were fixed on the volcano in the capital of flowers, which was the highest point of the island. A small black dot was standing there. It seemed that the other party had also noticed them, and his eyes were locked on both of them at the same time. Jin felt like he was being targeted by a ferocious beast. Chapter 176 The Meeting Ceremony of the Four Emperors, the fight between Xia Luo and Kaido. At his level, there are not many people who make him feel this way, but it's just a feeling. If you really want to face him, you won't be afraid. Otherwise, in the original work, you wouldn't have just kicked Andy's boat over. But Kaido showed an excited smile. He recognized the dragon. That person must be Xia Luo. Brother Kaido, this person is coming with bad intentions, so be careful. Compared to the excited Kaido, Jin was more cautious. Aren't you talking nonsense? You guys are calling at your door. Is it possible that the community should send warmth? Kaido clapped his big hand, hitting Jin directly on the head, and said with a carefree expression. Brother Kaido, what I didn't say. Be careful of his ambush. Xia Luo Lion Fruit's ability can make his subordinates hide in the sky. I don't know his plan yet. It's more like trying to seduce us now, so be careful of the other party's plot. Jin touched the back of his head where he had been slapped and said innocently. He simply reminded Boss Kaido. Unexpectedly, Kaido only understood his meaning literally and received a slap and a lesson. Well, then I'll leave the arrangements here to you. Lousy wants to go over and meet this kid. Kaido immediately acted as the palm handler, picked up his mace, transformed into a dragon form, and flew towards the flower capital. What a troublesome boss. Jin raised his eyebrows and said helplessly. But he also quickly ordered all his subordinates to be on alert, and also notified Quinn, Jack, and the 6 flying brothers to be ready. And he himself transformed into the form of a pteranodon and soared straight into the sky. He wants to find out whether Xia Luo is hiding other ambushes in the sky. Only he and old man Kaido can handle this task. But Kaido went to find Xia Luo, so this task could only fall on him. But these were all overthinking. Xia Luo did not arrange any ambush at all. He really went to Beast's pirates alone. So much so that even after flying in the clouds 10,000 meters above the sky for a long time, Jin could not find any trace of the ambush. Jin thought they were hiding in the clouds. But I also flew in the clouds for a long time and still couldn't find it, so I had to return without success. On the other side, Kaido was leaving Onigashima and heading towards the Flower City. Xiaoyan's eyes were also locked on him. He slowly flapped his wings and flew in the direction of Kaido without hesitation. Kaido also looked in the direction of Tien Weilong excitedly. He has been pleased with this powerful dragon-shaped creature for a long time. This powerful animal should join his beast's pirates. Ha 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 ha, come on, let me see how strong you are. Kaido laughed, and the hot flames accumulated in his mouth. Hot breath. Then a mouthful of flames spurted out. The hot breath was enough to melt everything he saw. But it was a pity that what he met was Xiaoyan, who was able to ignore this scorching temperature. But Xiaoyan will not sit back and be beaten. Like Kaido, Silver also has a powerful electric current in his mouth. The roar of the silver dragon. Xiaoyan has a beautiful silver-black body, and a long straight line of thunder and lightning roars ejected from his mouth. Flames and thunder and lightning collided together, creating a huge explosion in the sky at the edge of the Flower City. Boom! The huge explosion attracted everyone deep in Wano Kuni, and also caused some people hiding in the dark to look up in the direction of the flower capital. Among them is a pair of bright beautiful eyes. The owner of these beautiful eyes showed a puzzled look, and then ran towards the flower capital. The civilians of the flower capital witnessed the two men's attack and confrontation, but the strong wind pressure from behind forced them to squat down to avoid being blown into the sky by the wind pressure. Denjiro, who was on the second floor of the brothel, showed a cold expression, looked at the green dragon hovering in the sky, and groaned in hatred. Then, as if he had realized something, he suddenly looked anxious and panicked. No, Princess Hiyori is still with Kurozumi Orochi. He jumped directly from the second floor of the brothel and rushed towards the most gorgeous building in the Flower City, while still praying in his heart. Don't let anything happen to you while your highness the princess is here, otherwise I won't be able to face Lord Odin even if I go to hell. Thinking of this, Denjiro's pace quickened a little more. He jumped directly onto the roof and ran as fast as he could. Passers-by who didn't know what was going on only heard some noises and looked up at the roof but found nothing. Ha 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 ha, Kaido must be here. You're done for, kid, Kaido won't let you go. Kurozumi, the big snake who heard this, also laughed out loud, and Kaido's arrival gave him. He has full confidence. Now he felt that he could do it again, and then he started to provoke Xia Luo without hesitation. Noisy. Xia Luo just frowned and said in a calm tone. Looking at the proud Kurozumi Orochi, he felt very unhappy. This is how people in this country like to take advantage of others, but this time he offended the wrong person. Kaido has the capital and strength to talk to him, but Kurozumi doesn't. However, considering the special nature of the opponent Devil Fruit, Xia Luo has not planned to kill this guy so simply, but he can arrange some special experiments for Kurozumi Orochi. Doesn't he still have 7 lives? Don't waste them all, just donate them all to Xia Luo. But now, let's teach the other party a little lesson. Xia Luo stretched his finger forward, and then a powerful current spurted out, directly covering the figure of Kurozumi. God's judgment. Thunder and lightning directly tore through the room, and a straight road appeared, with wisps of green smoke emitting in the air and on the penetrated wall. Kurozumi also rolled his eyes, transformed from the form of Devil Fruit Yamada Orochi back into human form, and fell heavily to the ground. It's true that he has 7 lives, but it doesn't make him immune to the paralysis caused by electric shock. Xia Luo looked at Kurozumi who fell on the ground expressionlessly. He shouldn't be dead, right? Forget it, it doesn't matter if he dies. Anyway, you have several lives, so just waste one if you waste one. Xia Luo secretly calculated in her heart the remaining value of the Kurozumi snake. Kazuki Hiyori lightly covered her mouth, looking at the power and traces as powerful as a god. Strange emotions arose in her heart. Thunder and lightning, what a powerful force. This kind of power can only be truly controlled by gods. Kazuki Hiyori thought of Kaido. Kaido could only wrap some thunder and lightning in his attacks. But the man in front of him was like a god who controlled thunder and lightning, releasing such powerful electric shocks with just a few movements. Perhaps, this man can really hit Kaido. Then can I regain Wano Kuni through him? Kazuki Hiyori thought secretly in his heart. Start planning to use Xia Luo's power to recapture Wano Kuni and rebuild the building. She deserves her place. She completely forgot Xia Luo's not-so-good attitude before, and she had absolute confidence in her beauty. This is a fact that she has confirmed from countless people. It only takes a little time to understand that Kazuki Hiyori can completely target Xia Luo's preferences and create a type that the other party likes, thereby capturing Xia Luo. By then, she will not only be able to take back Wano Kuni, but also get a powerful combat force to protect Wano Kuni. As for whether she would sacrifice her body, she didn't care at all. If she could really achieve her goal, then why not bend down and wear it underneath? If such a powerful man can give birth to his next generation, he must be a powerful child who can also hold on to this man firmly. Kazuki Hiyori kept thinking in her heart and began to plan how to win Xia Luo's favor. This was her specialty. If Xia Luo knew what she was thinking, she would probably laugh at her wishful thinking. Xia Luo hugged Kazuki Hiyori and slowly stood up. The latter followed the other person's actions and stood up, but still clung to him tightly. Although it was the first time they met, Kazuki Hiyori was already planning to place a bet on this man. In this way, Xia Luo slowly walked towards the outside of the broken wall. With a wave of his hand, the floor split open, and a rock dragged the blackened body of Kurozumi to float slowly, following behind Xia Luo. Kazuki Hiyori looked at this scene in surprise, not understanding what kind of power this was. With powerful swordsmanship, god-like thunder and lightning, and magic that makes objects float, she increasingly felt that Xia Luo had the power to defeat Kaido. When you walk to the big hole in the broken house, you can see Silver and Kaido in the sky when you look up. Now the two are fighting fiercely. Two creatures with different appearances, but both named dragons, could not tell the winner for a while. It is also difficult to hurt the opponent. To be precise, even if Kaido is really hurt, his extremely strong recovery power can quickly recover. This is the powerful recovery power from Zone Devil Fruit, especially the Devil Fruit of the Phantom Beast type. The recovery power is even more powerful. Kaido has eaten the Blue Dragon Fruit for so many years. The development of the Devil Fruit must be very powerful, otherwise he would not be called immortal. Asterisk 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 asterisk. He was sentenced to death 40 times by Marine and still survived. Swords, thunder, fire, and poison were all indestructible. The powerful defense is only inferior to Big Mom's steel balloon. Xia Luo showed an excited smile and looked at Kaido, who was fighting Xiaoyan in the sky. Kaido also felt the gaze from Xia Luo. He turned his head and saw Xia Luo in front of the hole in the building, with a smile on his lips. Kid, I didn't expect that the first person you came to see was me. Are you looking down on me? Do you think I am the one who is the most bullied among the 4 emperors? Kaido asked loudly, seemingly unhappy, but in fact he was also very excited. He didn't find fights with other 4 emperors once or twice anymore. He often made trouble with Whitebeard before, but in the end he always got favored by Whitebeard, even though the other party didn't get any favors either. No, I don't dare to look down on you, seniors. I respect you, seniors, very much. I have already met the others, and Whitebeard is dead, so naturally the only thing left is to pay a visit to Mr. Kaido, who is the 4 emperors. Xia Luo shook her head and said with a smile, while holding Kazuki Hiyori and floating into the sky. Then he came to Xiaogin's side and threw Kazuki Hiyori and Kurozumi directly towards Xiaogan. The latter directly grabbed the person in his hands with his 2 claws. People like Kurozumi Orochi are not qualified to climb on his back, so he usually grabs such captives with his claws. HMPH, I don't see any respect in your eyes. It's useless to talk more, take my first move, kid. Kaido snorted coldly, then turned into a human animal form, stepping on the flaming clouds and running towards Xia Luo. Thunder 8 trigrams. The starting move is his signature move. The powerful armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki are wrapped around the mace and swung directly, and he also uses Emission, a long-range offensive armament Haki. The attack showed a realistic black and purple shockwave flying towards Xia Luo. Yeah, it's really a warm greeting. Sure enough, is this how the 4 emperors greet each other? Xia Luo's mouth was still filled with an excited smile. But there was no hesitation in his movements. The 2 swords merged into a giant spear. The huge sword body made him more suitable for wielding it, and it was much easier to use. Like Kaido, the weapon color, Conqueror's, is blessed on the sword body, turning the giant spear into black, and black lightning bursts out from the sword body. Janbo hyphenation point purgatory. The giant spear was swung horizontally, and a huge and thick black-red sword energy appeared. Cut it out like this. The 2 attacks erupted with a powerful impact before they even came into contact. Wind pressure dozens of times stronger than the previous roar between Xiaoyan and Kaido swept across all areas of Wano-kuni, so much so that the dangerous waters near Wano-kuni began to reverse. To stir up. The wind pressure destroyed some unreliable buildings, and even the iconic big tree in the Flower City and the newly built house were blown down. Responsibility. For a time, many civilians and buildings were smashed below. The wailing and praying continued, and the civilians were looking at the 2 people in the sky in despair. This scene seemed like the end of the world. It's just the end of the world for Wano-kuni civilians like them. This storm lasted for a full minute before slowly fading away. After the storm, both Xia Luo and Kaido showed excited smiles and looked at each other. The blood surges from their hearts, and the desire to fight is constantly released. Kaido is not a peaceful person either, otherwise he doesn't go around committing suicide for fun, and he often makes trouble for Whitebeard. He felt that Xia Luo was very appealing to him. It was a pity that this kind of talent did not belong to their beasts pirates. Kid, you are very interesting. Do you want to join our beasts pirates? If you join with that dragon, I can give you 2 more spots on the big billboard. Kaido, who cherishes talents, directly invited Xia Luo. Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Kaido, but I also have my own ambitions, and it is absolutely impossible for me to join your pirate group. Xia Luo was also a little surprised by Kaido's sudden invitation, but he still refused. Think about it, how could the heir chosen by the old lion not inherit his ambition? Ha, that would be a pity. Even though he was rejected, he was not disappointed. This result was already expected when he opened his mouth. He only spoke before because he couldn't help but said it. After all, he is Kaido-sensei who cherishes talents. Chapter 177 Teacher Guy who cares about talents. Exactly, if I join someone else's pirate group, Mr. Shiki will probably jump out of the grave and whip me with a whip until I can be remade. Xia Luo shrugged, looking relaxed. He is not joking when he says this. He knows that the world of pirates has the concept of soul. The underworld fruit and the soul fruit are all about the soul. Maybe Mr. Shiki will be able to watch the outside world after his death, and when he accidentally sees his news, he will be so angry that he will jump out of his grave. So, why did you catch Kurozumi Orochi? I can understand the woman over there, but I've never heard of you having such a hobby. No, it seems that you also stole Blackbeard during the Summit War. Do you have such a hobby? Kaido looked at the Kurozumi snake caught by Xiaoyun with a puzzled look, and then asked Xia Luo. Then he seemed to remember something and looked at Xia Luo with a strange expression, as if he had discovered something. Call out. A fierce sword energy was chopped out by Xia Luo and flew towards Kaido, but was directly knocked away by the latter's mace. Kaido-senpai, even you can't talk nonsense, otherwise something bad will happen. There are several big hash marks on Xia Luo's forehead, and he is smiling with half-squinted eyes, but it can be seen from the darkness that covers his forehead and eyes. It is not difficult to see that Xia Luo's actual complexion is not very good. He doesn't care about the misunderstanding that he is a womanizer, doesn't it? But he can't ignore the misunderstanding that he has some strange hobbies. If this spreads out to the sea, how can he still have the nerve to fool around? The beautiful young lady will have to retreat when she sees him. This is something he absolutely doesn't want to see. Oh, are you angry from embarrassment? 730? It doesn't matter, kid, even if you have this kind of hobby, I won't discriminate against you, because this is the right of the strong. The weak are born to serve the weak. Kaido smiled and laughed heartily, which looked like a mockery in Xia Luo's eyes. This matter is never over. Xia Luo will not be able to swallow this breath unless he beats the shit out of Kaido. Xia Luo silently wrote down this grudge in her little notebook, and she must pay special attention to Kaido later. I agree with what you said. The weak serve the strong. It just so happens that Kurozumi's fruit ability is very useful. He has several lives, but he is a good experimental material, and he is also demon fruit power of the phantom beast species. This kind of experimental material cannot be let go. Xia Luo said with an expressionless face and a calm tone. As soon as these words came out, Kaido also reacted. Speaking of which, it seems that you have taken action against Doflamingo. I think I heard about it from Doflamingo. He cried to me that you squeezed all his men to death. And he also robbed his important scientific and technical personnel, and also robbed several of his subordinates, and now he is here to capture the demon fruit power of the phantom beast species. Are you already going to develop the artificial devil fruit of the phantom beast species? Kaido showed an angry expression and shouted in a bad tone. All Zone devil fruit ability is his dream, and Xia Luo is now firmly in control of his dream. And there is also the possibility of creating devil fruit, a species of phantom beast, where all members are created. How can this not make him tempted? His seemingly angry expression was actually greed, and he had one more reason to take action against Xia Luo. Since Doflamingo, a useless guy, failed to retain important technical personnel, let this talent be in the hands of his beast's pirates. He seemed to see a dream beckoning to him. It was not impossible for everyone to create devil fruit, a fantasy beast species. Haha, who knows, but your phantom beast devil fruit is also pretty good. The blue dragon fruit's abilities are quite comprehensive. Xia Luo said slowly with a smile and an intriguing tone. You kid, are you interested in Laozi's power? Ha 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 ha, let me see if you have the ability to take away my devil fruit's power. Hearing this, Kaido smiled instead of getting angry. He waved the mace in his hand and started to fight Xia Luo. Etc. Xia Luo stretched out her hand and shouted stop. What's wrong? Do you have anything else to say? Kaido also stopped obediently and asked with a puzzled look on his face. You don't want to fight here, do you? Xia Luo said meaningfully, looking at the miserable state of the flower city below. Kaido also saw this scene, and the flower capital was now in a dilapidated state. Those who don't know would never guess that this was once the most prosperous city in Wano Kuni. Now the tallest building has also fallen down, and the ordinary house in the center is even more damaged and dilapidated. It's really inappropriate to fight here. If you're not careful, you'll probably end this place. Everything is destroyed. In that case, come with me. Kaido also took a look at the dilapidated scene here. He also didn't want to destroy Wano Kuni, which was his important weapons factory. Kaido turned around and wanted to take Xia Luo to fight on the Ghost Island, which was his base camp. Moreover, there are big signboards like Jin, Quinn, and Jack watching, which can not only ensure that Xia Luo will not escape easily, but also provide a single combat for him and Xia Luo. But an unexpected person broke his plan to take Xia Luo away. Put Xiao Zi down for me, and Lord General, put him down too. A figure roared and jumped directly from the half-collapsed tree in Wano Kuni. Although he is a small figure, he can use his bouncing power to briefly jump to the same height as Xia Luo and the others. The visitor was none other than Denjiro, who was disguised as Kurozumi and was working as a guard for Kurozumi Orochi. When he saw Kazuki grabbing Kazuki Hiyori, he was filled with anger and rushed forward. At first he called Kazuki Hiyori. But remembering his current identity, he couldn't let Kurozumi go, so he shouted again. Xia Luo and Kaido both glanced at the warrior who rushed up in surprise. But Xiao Jin's eyes showed disdain, and he blocked Denjiro's blow that could cut off the ship with just a flick of his tail. The slash didn't leave a single scratch on its body at all. However, Denjiro, who failed to hit the target and lost his center of gravity, slowly fell to the ground. "Boss Kushiro!" Kazuki Hiyori exclaimed, looking at Denjiro who was falling down with worried eyes. But Xiaoyan didn't stop because of her shout. "I saw it opening its mouth, and thunder and lightning accumulated in its mouth. A Thunder Dragon air bomb was sprayed out from its mouth." Denjiro was unable to dodge in the air. He was now like a target, allowing Xiao Jin to aim and launch long-range attacks at will. "Wash the motor." Denjiro secretly thought that something was wrong, and he did not sit still and wait for death in the face of the lightning bombs that were speeding towards him. Instead, he clenched the long sword in his hand and swung the emission sword energy. The sword energy hit the thunder bomb. He originally thought that his speed sword energy was enough to cut off the thunder bomb on the opposite side. But this is not the case. The collision of sword energy and thunder bombs can only produce huge explosions and wind pressure. And the thunder bombs were obviously better. The thunder bombs did not dissipate after the explosion, and the thunder and lightning continued to spread downwards wantonly. Denjiro, who was already weightless, was not only electrocuted, but was also blown several times in the air by the wind pressure, and finally hit the ground heavily. Even he couldn't bear it completely if he fell from such a height. "Hey, how is it possible that there is such a powerful force? What kind of monster is that?" Denjiro took a mouthful of blood from slaying the dragon, with a frightened look on his face, and said in shock. The three figures looking at the sky ignored him at all, but turned around and walked away. Denjiro felt their contempt. He had not experienced this feeling for a long time, and a deep sense of humiliation and powerlessness welled up in his heart. "Your Highness, this subordinate is incompetent. If something happens to you, what should I do?" Denjiro knelt on the ground and stared helplessly at the three people who had flown away. He obviously swore to protect Her Highness the Princess, but Her Highness the Princess was kidnapped by others in front of him. He didn't know where Xia Luo and the others were going, but judging from the direction, it should be the direction to Ghost Island. Denjiro stood up and headed towards Onigashima. What a powerful man. He can actually compete with that bastard Dad. And the dragon is also a being that can compete with Dad. Maybe Wano-kuni can be saved. A person wearing a green-haired Hanya mask, a close-fitting kimono, a huge shimori rope tied around his waist, and a red dress on his lower body looked at Xia Luo's figure, with 10 silk threads. Bai's voice said slowly, "She also has 2 devil-like red sharp horns on her forehead. If you look closely, she looks very similar to Kaido. And judging from her female voice, this tall figure is a woman. This figure is none other than Kaido's daughter, Yamato, a tomboy who claims to be Kazuki Oden and a manly man. Xia Luo likes this role very much, but also feels a bit headache. I like Yamato because of her size, her good looks, and her kind of personality. The troublesome thing is Yamato's mind that was poisoned by Kazuki Oden's voyage diary. It's not easy to correct Yamato's thinking, it requires several doses of strong medicine." Then, like Denjiro, she chased Xia Luo and Kaido towards Onigashima. She would not let go of the scene where her father was fighting with others. Neither Xia Luo nor Kaido paid much attention to Denjiro's episode just now. "Aren't you afraid that if you keep these guys in your own territory, there will be some big trouble? That shouldn't be one of your men, right?" While flying, Xia Luo asked casually. "Huh? You were talking about that one. That one is Kurozumi Orochi's subordinate. He is a samurai and his strength is very good. Through Kurozumi Orochi, I can make these samurai work for me. This is a very good combat power." Kaido realized what he was talking about, and then said with a proud look on his face. He looks down on Kurozumi, a despicable guy, but now he still needs to use his power. I have to say that the importance of blood in this country is indeed very important. A guy like Kurozumi can rule a country. It is enough for him to silently control the people in these prisons behind the scenes to create weapons for his work. Haha, power that is not under your control is useless if you keep it in your hands. There should be samurai riots here often, right? If it were me, I would definitely kill all these people who resisted. Raising them for mining would be a waste of food. People who are disobedient are useless. Xia Luo showed a disdainful smile and expressed different views on Kaido's approach. Kaido didn't think so, everyone had their own approach, and he didn't think there was anything wrong with what he was doing now. He attaches great importance to the power of these samurai. This may be because Kazuki Oden left a deep impression on him 18 years ago. This made him glimpse the strength of the samurai, and he was reluctant to kill those samurai, even Kazuki Oden's men. It is precisely because of this that Xia Luo is disdainful of his approach. Just cultivate strong people by yourself, and leave a group of people who don't listen. If you talk like a white-eyed wolf, sooner or later you will cause a big mess. In other words, he would definitely kill those warriors to establish his power, or take them all to Geisa for experiments. They are all very strong and just suitable as test materials. Kazuki Hiyori, who was being held by Xiao Jin from behind, was frightened when he heard this. This handsome guy who looks very handsome and powerful is unexpectedly so cruel and ruthless. He's a guy even more cruel than Kaido. She began to worry about Wanakuna's future. Can such a person really be seduced and controlled by her? In this way, she followed Xia Luo and Luffy to the Ghost Island with an uneasy mood. This is a very empty place, the sky is full of dark clouds, and there are no trees except rocks. This weather adds an eerie feel to the island. As they landed, there were several powerful 1.1 auras coming towards this side from the building in the center of Onigashima. These auras are much weaker than those of Kaido, Xia Luo and others. It should be the 3 big signboards on the Kaido ship and the flying 6 cells. Xia Luo didn't care very much. These people couldn't stop the change of the outcome of the battle, not to mention that there was Xiao Yin watching beside them. These people had to get Xiao Yin's consent before they dared to intervene. Let's have a big fight. The one who wins will get everything the other party has. Xia Luo smiled excitedly, and her clothes changed into combat uniforms that were more suitable for fighting. He rarely takes things seriously anymore, not even when he focuses on war. Even the combat uniforms that had not been used for a long time were used. Although at his level, the battlesuit can no longer provide him with much combat power, more so that it can be more comfortable during combat. Ha 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 ha, little brat, let's have a fight. I'll let you know that I'm not an old man like Whitebeard. I will definitely be the first one to challenge you. You made the wrong choice. Kaido's eyes became fierce and cruel, he waved his mace with laughter and shouted. His current state seemed to have undergone a 180-degree change from his previous appearance. Now he seems to be even more bloodthirsty, cruel and excited, and his eyes are glowing red, and he grins like a crescent moon, full of sharp teeth. It seems that Kaido drank a lot of wine before, so he was a little sober, but he came over to fight with Xia Luo and Xiao Yin. Blood circulation accelerated, alcohol began to fill his body, and killing, excitement, and fighting dominated his emotions. This made him into the current state of excitement and murderous intent. This is Kaido's unique skill, the drunken killing mode. Chapter 178 Teacher Kaido teaching on site. Then let me see the difference between you and that old man. Before he died, that old man Whitebeard made a big fuss in naval headquarters. Xia Luo opened her mouth with an excited smile, waved the giant spear in her right hand, and prepared a battle mode. At the same time, his body was gradually changing from human to half-dragon. Ha 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 ha, it turns out you are the same. The rumored dual fruit ability and a transformation comparable to that of a fantasy beast. What a freak. Seeing Xia Luo's transformation, Kaido laughed and said. He also turned into a half-dragon form, holding a mace tightly in his hand, with lightning wrapped around the mace. Both of them have the power of thunder and lightning, but Xia Luo's thunder and lightning is stronger. But Kaido still has the power of fire and wind, and the wind blade he spits out is a slash like a sickle and weasel. It can also create tornadoes to disrupt enemies, which is a very troublesome ability. The ability of fire is not a threat to Xia Luo. After all, he is definitely immune to flames because the flame temperature in this world is not high enough. Even if Kaido's flames can easily melt steel, it's not enough. Boom. The war is about to break out. Xia Luo's giant spear collided with Kaido's mace, but if you look closely, you can see that neither of their weapons touched each other. There was another Conqueror's entangled collision, which was the standard equipment only for their Imperial class. Conqueror's Haki can be said to be the standard configuration of 4 Emperors. Without this Haki, 4 Emperors would have no confidence. Unless there is a dark fruit like Blackbeard. But without Conqueror's Haki, the price is still a bit low. Other people's 4 Emperors meeting gifts are all overpriced. If you don't have one, who will? Xia Luo is very powerful, but Kaido is not bad either. The collision of their weapons is more about Haki's strength. Not bad, kid. Sure enough, those rumors are not lies. You indeed have the same strength as us. But so what, let me teach you how to use the true power. Kaido then transformed into Teacher Guy on the spot. He jumped high into the air, and the astonishing Haki stars gathered on the mace. This is. Xia Luo looked at Kaido, who suddenly jumped into the air in surprise. He clearly felt that the way Kaido used Haki was different from him. Xia Luo's Haki has not gone through very systematic learning, and improvement depends entirely on physical fitness and systematic improvement. Golden Lion taught him how to use Haki, and in the battle with Nagli, he learned some of Haki's skills. Now looking at the Haki method used by Kaido, I once again want to learn. Zhang Sanshi Yin Nai Luo. Terrorist attacks from top to bottom were directed towards Xia Luo. The shadow of the mace was magnifying infinitely in Xia Luo's eyes. Kaido was now like a giant, with a strong sense of oppression coming towards him. In this regard, Xia Luo did not feel a trace of fear, but only endless excitement and excitement. He did not choose to avoid this move, but stood firm and raised the giant sword above his head to resist the damage of this blow. Boom. Xia Luo's knees were slightly bent in a Zama stance. The land centered on him was being squeezed and sunken by the attack, and it didn't take long for a huge pothole to form. At the same time, the attack was accompanied by continuous thunder and destruction. Surface. Thunder and lightning did not harm Xia Luo, because he himself is the incarnation of thunder. It wasn't until the remaining power of Kaido's, Zhang Sansei, Enaraku, dissipated that he swung the giant spear in his hand to knock him away. Kaido took advantage of the situation and jumped directly out of the range of the pit. It's not bad, kid. You can take my blowhead on without any harm. It's been a long time since I met someone who can challenge me seriously. This feeling of attacking with all my strength is really great, ha 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 ha. Kaido let out a shocking laugh and sighed, while also praising Xia Luo's strength. What was that just now? I felt Haki's attack getting stronger. Xia Luo jumped out of the hole and asked Kaido in confusion. Kaido's move, Jang Sanshi, Yinaraku, not only covers Haki's hardening and entangling, but also uses other special skills. He was very curious and even asked directly, but he regretted it as soon as he asked. How can a normal person answer the enemy's questions? Isn't this just slandering the enemy? But Kaido is not that kind of normal person. When he transformed into Teacher Guy, he explained the principles to Xia Luo. Haki is distributed in various parts of the body, and powerful Haki users often. By gathering all the Haki energy in the whole body, it can form powerful defense and attack. This is a move that every powerful Haki user must learn, because Haki is the power above all else. Ha 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 ha. But even if you, little brat Xia Luo, don't control this kind of power, the amount of Haki is really amazing. Kaido took out a bottle of wine from somewhere and started drinking. Now he feels very happy and can't help but want to drink. Is there Haki all over the body? Xia Luo murmured to herself after hearing this. At the same time, feel the power of Haki in your body. Put them all together. Xia Luo tried to gather all the Haki in his body, and he closed his eyes tightly to feel it. First up is the amazing Haki on weapon coverage. Ha 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 ha, so what if you know how to use it, you don't think you can escape from here? Kaido drank wine and laughed as soon as he swallowed the wine, but he stopped mid-sentence. Because he saw it and felt it. Opposite, the sword in Xia Luo's hand is gathering amazing Haki power. This isn't a useless trick like unleashing Haki without restraint. It's what he just said, the technique of concentrating the whole body Haki on one point to greatly enhance the attack. You're lying. You've only seen me once, and you only heard me talk about it once, but you actually mastered this technique. Even if normal people know the techniques, they still need to go through repeated training to master them. Only a very small number of strong people can do it. What a monster. Kaido opened his mouth, uttering words of disbelief. He was now staring at Xia Luo with his mouth open. The wine in his hand had flowed all over the floor at some point, but he didn't notice it at all. Xia Luo slowly opened his eyes. Through Kaido's verbal description, he had mastered this technique. Thank you, Senior Kaido, for your teaching. Your words have made me stronger again. Xia Luo raised the corners of her mouth slightly, showed a smile, and said in a pleasant tone. This kind of learning ability can be regarded as one of his hidden talents. From his battle with Nagli, he learned through this learning ability. He has learned the advanced use of weapon colors, entanglement and internal destruction, and even learned Conqueror's entanglement. Now through Kaido, I have learned how to hide and use the weapon color and condense it. His thank you was also sincere, but it seemed a bit sarcastic to Kaido's ears. Are you kidding? So what if you learn it? Do you think you can defeat Laozi this way? The mace that Kaido placed on the ground erupted into several bolts of black lightning. At the same time, the air around him began to twist as if something had been suffered, and terrifying pressure emanated from his body. The average strong person will feel oppression, distortion, nausea, etc. under this pressure. Realistic red flames began to appear in the air. In this slightly gloomy environment, through the bright red background, you can see his extremely oppressive figure and his scarlet eyes with red light. No, even if I don't learn this skill, I will never lose to you. Xia Luo smiled and shook her head, speaking in a gentle tone. At the same time, his whole body was like Kaido, the air was twisted, black-red aura filled the air, and countless black-red lightning burst out. He has already learned the use of this Conquerors, but he has not yet. What's the use? In addition to pretending to be cool and handsome, there are also pressures from people who are weaker than you. Facing strong people of the same level is just a waste of your Haki and physical strength for no reason. But both Kaido and Xia Luo did this, just to show their strength and their massive Haki power. Xia Luo understood a lot of things through the armed sex techniques described by Kaido. In the world of pirates, there are some people who can cover their whole body with armament Haki. Among them are the crew members of One Piece, Deadless Bullet, who is known as Roger's right-hand man like Pluton Rayleigh, and the famous big pirate Brandy World. These people have used the full-body armament Haki application. This technique of hardening the whole body with armor can indeed effectively provide all-round protection. But at the same time, it also reduces the true power of armed color hardening. The reason why Garp the Fist is famous is because of his iron fists and Haki's armed colors wrapped around his fists. It seems that among the top strong men, except for Bullet, few of them can use the technique of hardening with full body armor. Bullet only uses this when fighting kids like Supernova. Moves. Because his own Haki power is terrifying, even covering the whole body is enough to hit Supernova. Xia Luo understood everything, no wonder Kaido said that Haki is the power above everything. Ha 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 ha, if you can do it, let's try it, kid. Kaido roared loudly, and at the same time, his current form seemed to be slightly different from the previous human-animal form. The keen Xia Luo noticed this abnormality. Kaido's nose changed from a human nose to a dragon's nose, and his eyebrows also changed from those of a Super 3 Saiyan to a flame cloud. Flame cloud. Xia Luo's eyes suddenly shrank, and then she became vigilant. The flame cloud usually symbolizes the awakening of the Zone Devil Fruit, but there is no actual flame cloud appearing around Kaido. Only the eyebrows turned into flame clouds, and the nose turned into the shape of a dragon's nose. Both arms and tail are much thicker than before. It seems Kaido is transforming into a beast. This form is better said to be a beastman form than a human animal form. Characteristically, it has the power of the beast side. The originally purple-blue scales were now faintly glowing, and the color was a little brighter. Great Weed Thunder 8 trigrams. Kaido rushed towards Xia Luo at extremely fast speed, while roaring out the name of his move. The speed of this move is much faster than Thunder 8 trigrams, and it is also more powerful. Judging from the name of the move, we can tell that this is an enhanced version of Thunder 8 trigrams, and the actual combat power in Kaido's Beastman form is several times more ferocious than the previous Beastman form. Well done! Xia Luo shouted excitedly. His movements were not slow either. With the blessing of lightning, he could be said to be 1 point faster than Kaido. Kaido's moves are very interesting. Thunder 8 trigrams delivers a fatal blow to the enemy with extremely fast speed and heavy blows. This is similar to the move that Xia Luo stole from a certain game, Raptors. Splitting Void is similar, but not exactly the same. While fighting Kaido, his hidden talent learned the subtleties of Kaido's Thunder 8 trigrams. At the same time, combined with his sword skill of Raptor Splitting Void, Xia Luo also developed his own unique move. Take the move, Splitting Void Hell Breaking. In this situation, Xia Luo couldn't help but shout out the famous move that he had just thought of, which was extremely good. And also rushed in the direction of Kaido. Two figures passed each other. Sizzle. There is a small dent visible to the naked eye on Xia Luo's chest, which is exuding the aura of thunder and lightning. A trace of blood flowed out of it, but it was quickly evaporated. This damage is not heavy, but Kaido did break through some of his defenses and caused a substantial attack. As strong as Xia Luo, who has the physique of a steel balloon and the hard scales of the celestial comet dragon, the defense was broken by Kaido's attack. Sure enough, the top experts all have powerful means. Kaido's Beastman form and his powerful Haki are his confidence. But this is still not enough. The scar on Xia Luo's chest is constantly being repaired. It was originally a minor wound, but now it has healed and her chest has returned to its original state. Status. The other side. Kaido's appearance is much worse than Xia Luo's. At this time, his pupils were suddenly widening. There was a long-lost pain in his body. Sizzle. A huge wound appeared on his body from his right chest to his left abdomen. Originally there was a huge scar on his abdomen, but now this wound has opened up his old wound, adding an even bigger slash to him. Blood was pouring out of the wound without any money. How can it be? His perspective slowly moved downwards, and his face was full of disbelief when he saw the wounds on his body. He hasn't been hurt in a long time. Powerful attacks can only leave him with pain and will not cause damage to the surface of his body. The wound on the abdomen was left from the battle with Hikaru Miyu 18 years ago. Boss Kaido. Jin and others who arrived here at unknown time also couldn't believe what they saw. My boss actually lost a fight with this guy. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Xia Luo is fine, but Kaido has a scar on his body. Chapter 179. The battle is about to end, Boss Kaido. Jack the Drow's pupils suddenly widened. With a bounty of 1,900,000,000 ivory, he had no idea what had just happened. In his eyes, the confrontation between the two just changed their positions in an instant. But his Kaido boss was actually hacked. He had never seen Kaido boss in such a sorry state. Especially when Brother Jin said that Brother Kaido had lost, he couldn't believe it. Well done, kid. It's been a long time since anyone could hurt me like this. Kaido turned around and looked at Xia Luo with clear eyes. There was a long-lost pain in his body, and this blow woke him up. On my side, Mr. Kaido is worthy of being a senior. The attack just now made me feel pain. Xia Luo touched the wound on his chest that was almost healed and said slowly. This place received damage last time, but that time it did not incorporate the essence of the Sky Comet Dragon. He was cut with a small wound on his chest by Rayleigh's Divine Avoidance. Now after merging with Tien Wei Long, Kaido has broken the defense again. Now he really doesn't dare to underestimate these original characters, and Kaido is worthy of those who stand at the top of the world. No wonder Green Bull would say that if Kaido was still in Wano Kuni, he would not dare to go to Wano Kuni. The most cheap admiral can say such a thing, which shows that Kaido's combat power can indeed make him fearful. What are you talking about, kid? Are you looking down on me? As soon as he said this, Kaido's eyes widened with anger. His reputation outside is not only for his immortal vitality and powerful defense, but also for his powerful strength. He is known as the Four Emperors. Now Xia Luo actually said that his attack still hurts him a little. Isn't this looking down on him? He looked at the wound on Xia Luo's chest that was about to heal. Fear gradually rose in his eyes. Strong defense and resilience have always been synonymous with him. Now someone with the same attributes appears. It has powerful attack power, powerful defense power, and very powerful recovery power, and it also has the body of a dragon. He felt that Xia Luo's attributes were gradually overlapping with his, and even surpassing his. Isn't this his enhanced version? In this little time, Kaido's bleeding wound has stopped and is slowly recovering. But compared to the healed wound on the opposite side of Xia Luo, this kind of recovery power is much worse. This is not to look down on Kaido-senpai, this is my sincere praise. At the same time, I have to admit that I was indeed a little contemptuous before, and I actually had reservations when facing Kaido-senpai. Next, I will start a real battle with you without any reservation. Xia Luo slowly closed his eyes and let his mind go. In the eyes of others, it seemed that he was full of flaws. But Kaido didn't move, and didn't take advantage of this opportunity to go up and give Xia Luo a hard blow. Because, dong dong dong, they all seemed to hear the voice coming from Xia Luo's body. Is it the sound of a heartbeat? The question in everyone's mind. Kaido felt an extremely dangerous aura. This breath comes from Xia Luo on the opposite side. Suddenly, Xia Luo opened her eyes. Bang bang. Two crisp sounds came from his body. Xia Luo looked ferocious at this time and gritted his teeth. His originally 2-meter body was expanding, and it was originally a strong dragon body. Now his size has gradually increased to the same size as Kaido. The body, limbs, and tail, all expanded in a big circle. Xia Luo's current appearance is very similar to Kaido's orc form, both with swollen muscles. What kind of ability is this? The body shape has changed so much, Jin said in shock, his pupils trembling. It seems that what Xia Luo just said about reservations is not a lie. His pressure now is much stronger than before. What should we do, brother Jin? Should we go up and help boss Kaido? Jack asked anxiously. He respected the two big signboards above him very much and called them both big brothers. Jack, you idiot, didn't you see the guy over there looking at you with eager eyes? If we dare to go up, he will come over and stop us without hesitation. Quinn smoked a cigar and said meaningfully. He was talking about Xiao Yin, who had been watching. A pair of scarlet eyes were looking in their direction intentionally or unintentionally, and the threat was self-evident. Brother Quinn, I'm afraid of what it will do. I can hold it down by myself. If you and brother Jin go up and help boss Kaido, we will definitely be able to take down that arrogant boy. Not only was Jack not afraid, but he was very brave to encourage the two eldest brothers. That's why I called you an idiot. Quinn slapped Jack on the head, looking as if he hated iron. He was really helpless. How did this idiot Jack become the poster? He had no idea at all. The opponent was able to block the footsteps of two admirals with one dragon in Summit War. Do you think you can face two admirals at the same time? Even the boss of Kaido may not be able to do this kind of thing. Jin also spoke at this time. Jack wanted to say something more, but was glared at by Quinn's small eyes under his sunglasses, and then he didn't dare to make any more noise. He lowered his head silently, muttering inaudible words. Being scolded by the two eldest brothers one after another made him very disappointed. He didn't dare to refute anything anymore. Has it gotten bigger? Haha, you are not the only one who can get bigger. Seeing this, Kaido said calmly. After Xia Luo completed his transformation, he also began to transform, and his original orc body gradually transformed into the beast side. The originally human head's mouth suddenly elongated, and then gradually turned into a dragon's head, and the body slowly turned into a dragon's body. Within a short time, Kaido had transformed into the image of an eastern dragon, with flames wrapped around his arms. Senior Kaido, although we are enemies, I have to remind you. Looking at Kaido, who had transformed into a dragon form, Xia Luo had strange eyes and said in a calm tone. This form is not very suitable for fighting. Although the beast form can increase strength, it also loses the flexibility of being a human. Regarding Xia Luo's seemingly persuasive words, Kaido looked disdainful and did not appreciate it at all. You have to try it before you know whether it's suitable for fighting. Take the move, kid. Hot breath. Kaido roared angrily and sprayed a pillar of flame from his mouth. The temperature of this flame is much higher than that of Ace, who was playing with fire. If it hits the ground, it's enough to melt the ground and shoot through the island. Compared to Ace's use of fire destruction, Kaido's use of fire is more like the user of the Mera fruit. He only focuses on increasing the temperature of the fire. Sure enough, even dogs won't eat Mera fruit. Are you talking nonsense? I can do that too. A smile appeared on Xia Luo's lips. Chatting is Dragon's forte. Little Silver will use dragon energy to hit the dragon cannon before he eats the thunder fruit. Xia Luo is also very proficient in integrating Xiaoyan's skills. The combination of lightning and dragon energy, there is nothing more suitable for talking. Boom. The flames collided with thunder and lightning, and a huge explosion broke out. Looking from Wanakuna's side, a pillar of light rises from Onigashima. Then the light beam exploded and turned into a small mushroom cloud. In the smoke, Xia Luo's figure passed directly through and rushed in the direction of Kaido. Call out. He flew out with a powerful Haki slash, and the smoke was split into the village. Kaido's pupils were startled, and he felt a powerful threat from the slash that was heading straight towards him. Pictures of the future flashed in his eyes. Directly shouldering it, a slashing attack would cut his head off directly, and he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Fight back with bad wind? Like a sickle and a weasel, the wind blade hit Xia Luo's sword energy and was cut off directly like an egg striking a stone. The last one was struck by the sword energy. Although the end was not as tragic as before, he was still seriously injured. No, you must not accept this move, you must avoid it. Kaido made a decision very quickly, and then turned sideways to avoid Xia Luo's slash. The sword energy directly cut off one of the horns of Onigashima's skull, and then flew into the sky. The sky was cut open by this blow. A trace of blood slowly flowed from Kaido's side face, and a trace of injury appeared on its face. The sword energy just brushed past his face, and then it changed after a slight rub. This is it. Due to time constraints, he was unable to gather too much weaponry to harden that part, so it was cut open. Otherwise, the wind blades around the sword energy alone would not be enough to cut through his body. His eyes moved to Xia Luo, who was floating in the sky. He was 7 or 8 meters tall, with an armor like dragon body, and a cold and stern gaze, holding a ministerial spear comparable to his body size in his hand. He really didn't expect that Xia Luo would push him to this point. Kaido-senpai was able to dodge the blow just now. He is really powerful. Observation Haki, what is that? The rumored prediction of the future? Xia Luo sighed. Kaido's weird state just now, and his quick reaction to the power of his attack. It's very similar to Ka-Er's ability to predict the future. But remembering what Kaido said during the battle with Luffy, it's not surprising that he can predict the future. It's really dangerous. If I had been hit just now, my head would have been split in half. Kaido said with lingering fear. It's not an estimate, he has already seen himself being split in half in the future. A sight. I recognize your strength. Next, I will also use my strongest attack. Xia Luo, come and see, my strongest attack. See. Kaido shouted with a serious look and a calm tone. His name for Xia Luo was also changed from Little Devil at the beginning to Xia Luo's name. This subtle change was also noticed by Xia Luo. Come on, Kaido-senpai, let me see the strongest power of your old 4 emperors. Xia Luo casually turned the giant spear in a circle, then swung it diagonally to get into position. As soon as he finished speaking, Kaido's body began to gradually emit flames. The flames dyed Kaido's blue body into gold. The flames were yellow at first, but gradually turned into red. Fire Dragon Torch. Kaido slowly said the name of his move. His whole body turned golden, with a layer of red flame attached to his skin. The blue dragon turned into a fire dragon. The surrounding air began to distort under the hot temperature. Kaido has now become a dragon-shaped furnace. Most things will be melted directly when they touch him. Not to mention flames, even magma may not be as hot as him. His body is extremely heat-resistant, and since his abilities are generated by himself, he will not be harmed. Seeing this, Sha-I couldn't help but sigh. How could something like magma kill Kaido? In the original book, Kaido was defeated by Luffy and fell into the lava. I'm afraid he wouldn't be offline so easily, right? How could Kaido, who could emit such high temperatures, die under the temperature of magma? Fire Dragon Flame 8 trigrams. Kaido puts the whole body. The Haki is all condensed in his head. No matter the weapon color or conquerors, none of them are reserved. This is my strongest blow. Kaido roared, rushing towards Xia Luo at extremely fast speeds. Kaido burst out with a speed different from his size, leaving only a red afterimage in the air. Xia Luo held the sword across his chest and wanted to use his own strength to directly withstand this move. Bang! The dragon's head collided with the giant sword. Kaido was like a bulldozer, pushing Xia Luo all the way. The two ravines were pushed and stretched by the collision between them. Huh! Stop it! Xia Luo roared when she felt the violent impact and force coming from her hands. At this time, his veins popped out, and his arms and legs were a little thicker. Kaido felt the power coming from his forehead, and Xia Luo began to resist. Kaido burst out with a speed different from his size, leaving only a red afterimage in the air. Boom 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 boom. Xia Luo is constantly retreating, and is about to be pushed directly from the Ghost Island by Kaido. Below is the nightmare of all demon fruit power, the ocean. If Xia Luo really didn't push Kaido into the sea, then Kaido's victory can basically be declared. Come on, Boss Kaido. Seeing this, Jack cheered loudly. He was extremely excited now. Jin and Quinn also looked at the battlefield with nervous eyes. Victory or defeat is decided in one fell swoop. But the speed began to slow down sharply. Kaido, who was originally unstoppable, began to slow down slowly. Click, click, click. Finally, as he approached the edge of the island, Kaido was stopped here by Xia Luo. Boss Kaido. It's just a little bit close. Come on. Jack's eyes were splitting as he roared loudly, cheering Kaido on. It's just a little bit close. As long as Xia Luo is pushed down, Boss Kaido will still be invincible. They seemed to have forgotten that Xia Luo and Lionfruit were there, and they would not fall into the sea even if they were pushed down. Even if he steps back 10,000 steps and is pushed into the sea, Xia Luo is not afraid of the seawater at all. But they didn't know about it. Kaido, who stopped, was already sweating profusely. But these are not the most important. The young man in front of him blocked his strongest blow, and he blocked it from the front. Chapter 180 Victory, Marine's Way. Is this all? Xia Luo slowly raised his head. Only Xia Luo's scarlet eyes were exposed on the broadsword. What? Kaido couldn't help but murmured to himself. The next second, a sharp pain shot from his face. Bang! Kaido's huge body was directly blown away by Xia Luo's punch. Boss Kaido! Jack exclaimed. Brother Jin, I can't bear it. I can't let Boss Kaido be defeated like this. Jack roared angrily and rushed forward. This time Jin didn't choose to stop him, because he and Quinn also rushed forward. Kaido is their boss, if the boss dies. Then they beast pirates, the group is finished. You must go up no matter what. The three of them transformed into the zone fruit state at the same time. Quinn and Jack were on the ground, while Jin was flying in the air, flying towards Kaido. Call out. Suddenly, Jin felt his eyes flash, and a figure appeared in front of him. Then a large dragon tail appeared in front of his eyes and attacked him. So fast, Jin's pupils shrank and he secretly exclaimed. Then he was hit hard by Xiaoyan's tail like a ball and was knocked back to the original place. Boom! Jin hit the ground hard. The next second, Little Silver appeared in front of Quinn and Jack again. Don't get in the way, you guy. Get out of my way. Jack, who turned into a mammoth, made a deep sound, and then swung his big nose towards Little Silver. Quinn also covered his head with armament Haki, seemingly to use a headbutt on Xiaoyan. Facing the two menacing attacks, Xiaoyan's expression did not change, and his dragon face still revealed that aloof and cold temperament. Although its hands are holding Kurozumi and Kazuki Hiyori, it will become unable to move. But in addition to his hands, he also has a pair of gun wings that are comparable to both hands. Call out. The wings of the gun stretched out and turned into two long knives. 2 rays of sword light slashed out directly. Before Jack and Quinn could really touch Little Silver, they flew back faster. Cough cough cough. Quinn and Jack stood up from the ground, covering their chests with their right hands. There were 2 huge sword marks on their chests, and blood was flowing out from there. However, with their 2 Zone Devil Fruits physiques, the damage of 230 is not enough to kill them. Zone has this kind of advantage. It can prevent high blood pressure and prevent people from being killed so easily. Jin also walked out of the smoke. He had just been slapped to the ground by Xiaoyan One Tail. But compared to Jack and Quinn, his condition was better, at least not in a bad state. Brother Jin, what should we do now? This monster is blocking the way. We can't help Boss Kaido at all. Jack's eyes showed fear and he stared at Xiaoyan closely. The opponent is very fast. It is difficult to break through its defenses, but I will try my best to stop him. You can take the opportunity to save Boss Kaido. Jin thought for a while and then came up with a simple plan. There is no way, except for Kaido. Jin is currently the most high-end combat power of their beasts pirates. He was the only one who could possibly hold Xiaoyan back. Why are you trying to stop this dragon? Are you underestimating my strength? Quinn said, unconvinced at this time. He and Jin were already at odds with each other, and this kind of heroic behavior made Quinn feel very unhappy. Then how about we switch? You stop this dragon's attack, and Jack and I rush to save Kaido for God's sake. Seeing this, Jin said very directly. Quinn was immediately speechless. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Looking at Xiaoyan opposite, he felt the scars on his chest. Quinn was very tight-lipped about taking over the right job. Then it's decided. Seeing this, Jin didn't say anything more and directly finalized the plan. It's not that he didn't think of calling Fei Liubao over, but Fei Liubao's combat power was too different from theirs. He probably would have been killed by chopping melons and vegetables against Xiaoyan. Besides, they also have other defensive tasks. Although Jin did not detect Xia Luo's other hands in the sky. But we have to be careful, who knows where the enemy will come from. Not to mention the beast's pirate soldiers who came with them, they couldn't help at all with monsters of this level. Not even qualified to be cannon fodder to buy time. On the other side, Kaido directly changed from dragon form back to human form after receiving the punch from Xia Luo. He had just used all his strength, but in the end he still failed to defeat Xia Luo. This feeling of failure, he hadn't experienced it for a long time. He was completely defeated from the front. Jin, Quinn, Jack. Looking at the 3 people who came to save him, Kaido felt strange emotions in his heart. Later, when he saw the 3 of them being slapped away by Xiaoyan, Kaido's eyes widened and anger arose spontaneously. He had just recovered a little physical experience after being knocked away and lying on the ground for a while. This is the resilience brought by his phantom beast species. This is also the confidence that he can fight with others for days and nights. His strong recovery ability not only recovers injuries, but also recovers his physical strength very quickly. Xia Luo, don't think you can defeat me like this. Kaido stood up forcibly, transformed into a human beast and wanted to have a fight with Xia Luo. But he couldn't even defeat Xia Luo with his strongest move, so how could he fight again with the bottom wearer? Kaido-senpai, you have already lost. You cannot defeat me with your own strength. Xia Luo shook her head and said calmly, although it was difficult for him to accept, it had become a fact. You want Wano Kuni? If you want Wano Kuni, then you can only kill me. Kaido had dark eyes, swung his mace, punched it on the ground, and shouted loudly. Xia Luo's eyes changed and he was in awe. These senior pirates indeed have a courage that is difficult for ordinary people to match. Even in the face of death, he is not afraid. Kaido, in that case, I will use my unreserved and full strength moves to retaliate against you. Xia Luo said with a serious look on his face. His body floated slowly, and then he called Xiao Yin. Jin and Quinn were still thinking of holding Xiao Yin back and coming to help Kaido. But no matter how hard Jin tried, he couldn't stop Xiao Yin because he was too fast. Even though he's pretty good and can go head to head with the admiral level for a while, he still can't stop him. Hearing Xia Luo's call, Xiao Yin also turned around and looked at Xia Luo's movements and he understood. Then he spread his wings and flew directly into the sky, just so flying higher and higher. Xia Luo looked at the shrunken ghost island below. Thunder and dragon energy slowly accumulated in his mouth. Dragon cannon will become stronger and stronger as time accumulates. Not long after, the dragon cannon had reached the maximum amount he could accumulate. Boom! A huge dragon cannon spurted out. Jin and others on the ground had just gathered around Kaido when they saw the huge beam of light in the sky. That brat. Kaido's lips widened. Let me see if you can really kill Lousy. Lousy will definitely survive and live to the end, and one day he will hammer you to the ground and see what you are like now. Kaido roared loudly. Then he used all his remaining and recovered strength and sprayed out scorching flames. The three of them were also sweating coldly. This powerful force cannot be resisted by anyone. If you don't resist, you will have no choice but to wait for death. They also used all their strength to prevent Xia Luo's attack. Brachiosaurus Launcher. Fire Dragon Emperor. Drink. Both Jin and Quinn yelled out the names of their moves. CEBF. Angrily. These are their long-range attacks. Only Jack, an idiot, transformed into a human animal form and rushed forward, trying to catch Xia Luo's dragon cannon with his body, and then used his fists to break Xia Luo's dragon cannon. You can't blame him, because his brain really didn't develop any long-range attacks from the mammoth fruit. Quinn even transformed himself into a modified person with multiple abilities. But Jack didn't, and he was used to relying on his own body to attack, without any elemental or long-range attacks at all. Boom! Several attacks collided with Xia Luo's dragon cannon, and their attacks were not compatible with Xia Luo's attacks. Instead, he resisted for a while and was pushed back. White light enveloped several people, and Kaido blocked the front with his body. SCT. Bang! Dragon cannons exploded on Ghost Island. Ghost Island received a violent attack and became shaky. Finally, Onigashima began to slowly sink. Xia Luo has no intention of bringing Kaido and others back to Longyu Island, nor does she have any intention of peeling off Kaido's fruit. On the one hand, it's because he already has a copy of the blue dragon fruit. On the other hand, of course it was because of his respect for this senior. The strong should have the ending that the strong should have. Instead of lying in the laboratory and becoming Xia Luo's material, if he wants to become stronger, he has other ways to increase his power. Xiao Yin, let's go, it's time to get our loot. Xia Luo took one last look at the sunken Ghost Island, and then flew in the direction of Wano-kuni in Xiaoyan. Dad is defeated. Yamato, who was far away on the edge of Wano-kuni, watched all this, and couldn't help but murmur to himself when he saw the ending of Onigashima. Awesome. That bastard dad was finally defeated. Yamato cheered. He was not sad at all because his father was defeated by Xia Luo and might die. On the contrary, I felt very happy. Now, she can finally realize her dream. She wants to become Kazuki Oden and found a country for Wano-kuni. Without Kaido blocking her, she finally has the chance to do so. In the dangerous waters near Wano-kuni, a marine warship is among them. This rough sea, which was like a natural disaster, did not frighten the people standing on the bow of the ship. He stared at the slowly silent Onigashima with cold eyes, and murmured to himself, "Isn't even Kaido your opponent? He is really getting stronger." The visitor is one of the 3 marine admirals, and his abilities are more suitable for fighting in this sea area. Although the waves here are rough, he can freeze the sea and successfully land on the island. If it were the other 2, even though nothing would happen to them, the accompanying marine might not be able to survive in this sea area. We can no longer let you grow like this. We must arrest you and bring you back to naval headquarters this time. Although it is a bit of taking advantage of others, there is nothing we can do about it. Aokiji's eyes gradually turned cold and cold words came out of his mouth. Click. The sea surface was frozen. Then his figure disappeared from the bow of the warship. He wanted to act alone and take advantage of this time to arrest Xia Luo as soon as possible. A battle between Xia Luo and Kaido, Ken. There is not much strength left. Now is the best time to arrest him without any delay. Who knows the physical constitution of these monsters, and how much physical strength and injuries they will recover if given some time. Flying in the sky, Xia Luo felt a powerful aura. After a brief judgment, he knew it was from Marine. Coupled with this familiar electromagnetic wave, Xia Luo concluded that the person coming must be Aokiji. Xia Luo lands on Wano-kuni and then activates her ability. The entire island began to slowly rise. Wano-kuni is connected to Onigashima. There are 2 huge volcanoes connected underneath them, and the exposed surface is their crater. These 2 volcanoes have been silent for an unknown period of time. Xia Luo's dragon cannon directly collapsed Ghost Island, and the magma inside can still be seen. Aokiji looked at Wano-kuni slowly rising into the sky and felt something bad. Hurry up or you won't be able to board Wano-kuni in time. However, no matter how fast he was, he couldn't get there. Wano-kuni had already risen to the sky. He could only helplessly watch the island leave. Finally, he called his men to clean up the remnants that Kaido might have left behind, and also searched for Kaido in the sea. Traces of others. One less 4 emperors is also a good thing for Marine. No matter who died in a dog-eat-dog fight between Xia Luo and Kaido, Marine came back to finish the game in the end. You can make a lot of money by killing 2, but you won't lose even if you only kill 1. It's just that Aokiji feels it's a pity that the person who was defeated was not Xia Luo. He had a hunch that Xia Luo was definitely a more troublesome existence than Aunt Kaido and others. He would rather see Kaido's victory and incorporate Xia Luo's forces than see Xia Luo's victory and incorporate Kaido's forces. The plains of Wano-kuni uttered uneasy exclamations. The floating and changing scenery of the island fell in their eyes. They felt as if the sky was getting closer and closer to them. When Xia Luo floated Wano-kuni, he did not float the seabed part together, but only took away the land part above the island. He did not take away all the volcanoes below, although they may contain a lot of ore. But he felt that the smoke emitted from the volcano in the flower capital should be rich in seastone elements. This element affects the sea and weather nearby, which creates the dangerous sea near Wano-kuni. Xia Luo didn't know whether the breath emitted by this volcano would have an impact on people with abilities, or if it would have an impact on people other than Wano-kuni. So he didn't take the area below with him.